Blank check with Griffin and David. Blank check with Griffin and David. Don't know what to say or to expect. All you need to know is that the name of the show is Blank Check.
You know, sometimes all you need is 20 seconds of insane podcasting. Just literally 20 seconds of just embarrassing podcasting, and I promise you, something podcast will come out of it.
Oh, my God.
Hey, everybody, my name is Griffin Newman.
I'm David Sims.
Welcome to Blank Check. This is a podcast in which David and I,
Yes.
a film critic and cultural writer,
That's me.
and an actor, comedian, respectively, I was going to say respectively so that the positions were clear, analyze the filmographies of important directors.
Who make big creative projects
Yeah, sometimes
that work or don't.
Yeah, sometimes they got a big success early on. They get a so-called blank check to cash in on crazy passion projects.
Premise established.
Premise established. We do mini-series. We tackle different directors, and we're completists. We go through the whole filmography. And right now, we are talking about one Cameron Crowe. This mini-series is titled We Podcast,
Yes.
and we have come to the moment
The
that everyone's been
titular
waiting for.
episode of We Podcast.
We're going to talk about the 2011
Comedy drama.
talkie, We Bought a Zoo.
Yes.
And to join us in talking about that film is no guest, but the third member of our triangle. Now, David, of course, you and I are hashtag the two friends.
That is correct. Thank you for mentioning that up at the top.
Because we're good friends and we host a podcast together, and that is our hook.
And there's two of us.
There are two of us.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
But there's a third man
There's a third man.
playing the zither in the background.
Yep. Harry
Talking
Lime
about-
himself.
Talking about cuckoo clocks. Is that what he talks about?
Yeah, something like that. He produces this show.
Yeah, that's true.
Producer Ben. I mean, of course, you're going to call him Producer Ben because he's the producer, but he's also the pro-doer. He's also the Ben-deucer. He's the poet laureate. He's...
Yeah, you remember what to do. We've cut one name out of this.
Mr. Positive.
Nice.
So this was suggested by listener and friend of the show, Patrick Kottner, Walks the Walk Kottner, who suggested we combine the Haas and Mr. Positive into Mr. Positive. There was a lot of hand-wringing. I guess for the sake of time expediency.
Which so far is working out grandly.
And I plan to explain this every episode from here on out. We are now going with Mr. Positive. He's also Birthday Benny. He's also the tiebreaker. He's the peeper. He's the fuckmaster. He is not Professor Crispy.
Nope, not yet.
You can wish him a hello fennel if you see him on the streets
Yes.
of New York.
And I want to...
Concrete jungle where bends are made of.
Absolutely not. No. And he has some podcast-specific names reflecting our history and culture and society in this podcast.
Yes.
Producer Ben Kenobi.
Yes.
Kylo Ben.
Yeah.
Ben Night Shyamalan.
Yes.
Ben Sate.
Yes.
Now, my friend Dan Daddario,
Uh-huh.
television critic for Time magazine,
Yeah.
recently suggested Say Bennything
That's
as
really
his Cameron
good.
Crowe,
I like
which
that a lot.
it's he messages it to me, and I'm just like, how did we
It's
not
incredible.
see it?
And he came up with the last one too, right? Did he come up with Ben Say It?
I can't remember
Okay.
who came up with Ben Say, and that's unfortunately lost to the sands of time.
Forever. We can never figure that out.
But I feel like there were a couple other contenders. We're just getting close to the end of our miniseries.
We're seeing
and we're going to need a new
the
name
sunset.
for Ben.
Yes. I mean, you had me at Hello Fennel, I feel like is more of a phrase than it is a name.
I don't think that can linger.
Yeah. Say Bennything. Benny Lane was thrown out.
Benny Lane is good. Benny Lane is
Here's
good.
the one thing I don't like about Benny Lane. There's obviously so much association with the Beatles there, and it might not sound like it's a
that's fair.
proprietary
Yeah, it's not. He
to
didn't,
the miniseries.
and it's a real person's name too, which he borrowed.
And we
want to
show respect.
Yes, we're
Yes,
gesturing to the air conditioning system of this studio.
Yeah, the
with our
ASPCA
hands.
offices, which are on the 10th floor of the building we're currently
Is that who's up
recording
there?
in. I think
I
I think they're actually on the 8th floor. Who's on 10? Ben, who's on 10?
Who's on first, Ben?
Ben 10?
What is it?
Who's on first? Wait a second. David, 4 million comedy points.
Okay, all right.
To Abbott and Costello, not to you. 4 million comedy
Good
points
job,
to Abbott and
Abbott and
Costello.
Costello.
Yeah.
You remember that Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip episode?
You're going to listen to this and you're going to laugh and laugh.
Where Nate Cordry tells his parents to listen to Who's on First.
Have you?
What is he, a time traveler?
Can we do an entire miniseries just on
Absolutely
that
not.
scene from
God.
Studio 60? Have you ever seen Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip, Ben?
I have not.
Okay, so it was a fucking Aaron Sorkin.
It was a weighty drama about the production of SNL, essentially.
But then in episode 2, they established
Wait,
that
was this
SNL exists, so they're
before 30
Mad
Rock?
TV. This was the same year as 30
it came
Rock.
out the same year on the
Whoa.
same network on NBC.
And they were like, I can't believe NBC would pick up 2 fictionalized SNL shows.
And everyone was like, but, the Sorkin one's probably going to last, and the Tina Fey one won't
That's a
last.
favor. They're doing that as a favor, and it's not going to last.
And then, of course, Tina Fey wins like 3 comedy series Emmys in a row, and Studio 60's canceled after 1 season.
We're sidetracking before you can get onto the thing, but I have to tell this story.
Oh, no.
I did a summer program at like NYU at Tisch, right? When I was in high school.
You've talked about it before.
In this film program, right? Yes. How they locked us in. And,
Yeah, you've talked about it before.
right. And listener friend of the show, Chris Cookson, pointed out that we actually did see like 10 movies as a group that summer, and I was wrong when I said we only saw 1.
Makes sense. You are a liar and a fabulous.
That is true. I am the Donald Trump of this podcast for a reason. And can I say something else?
This podcast does not endorse Donald Trump.
It doesn't. We've said it
Or
before.
his antics.
We'll say it again.
Don't vote Trump.
You pointed out that Ben earned those fucking nicknames by doing miniseries after miniseries, right?
Mm-hmm.
If Donald Trump comes up here and asks us to hand him a fucking miniseries nickname like it's a goddamn Purple Heart, and go, oh, it's a lot easier this way. Fuck you, Donald
Is he
Trump.
James Gandolfini?
Hey, come on. I'm where the wild things are.
Off the rails. This is terrible.
Donald Trump, you want to fucking,
right.
you want to fucking get a nickname? You gotta come in. You gotta work. You gotta hit the streets every day. You gotta work on the ground floor.
I have a serious question for you.
Yeah.
If Donald Trump wanted to be on this podcast, would you let him?
100%.
Okay, so you're as craven as Lorne Michaels.
No. In all seriousness, I would not. I don't respect his opinions. What do I want to hear him fucking say about Aloha?
It's fair.
You know?
I watched a while back this weird clip of him on Letterman in the 90s, in the late 90s, because he's in the film Celebrity, the Woody Allen film, for half a second, and he's talking about the film, and he's like, it's very good, like he's trying to sort of, and it's obvious he hasn't watched it. He maybe saw his scene.
Yeah.
And then he starts bragging about how Leonardo DiCaprio is like an incredible actor. It's just weird. What a weird guy. Do you think he watches movies? What does he do?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
although he
weird.
was very angry about these new Ghostbusters being
Was
women.
he? Was he angry about that?
Oh, he was one of the first people to go.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, he has the
They're talking
vine.
about recasting. They're
Ghostbusters.
talking about recasting Indiana Jones, and now the Ghostbusters are ladies. What's going on here in America?
I
You know?
forgot. Yeah, that's not even a good James Gandolfini.
No, now I'm trying to just do a whole
You're
nother
just doing a
thing.
bad thing.
I feel like I'm doing a bad impression of Paul F. Tompkins' bad impression of Cake Boss. Yeah, come on, I'm James Gandolfini.
I've got a pretty good Bob Duca.
Let me hear your Bob Duca.
Scant. 6 glorious months. It's not perfect.
It's not perfect.
I've been saying 6
Not terrible.
glorious months.
Not
I
terrible.
can't.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was doing it. My roommate, ex-roommate now, recently discovered Bob Duca, so I've been batting around a lot of Bob Duca lines.
Can I get back to important matters here?
Heaven fuck. I can't quite get. Anyway, go on. Yes.
When I was in this NYU summer program,
Yeah.
they had like guest speakers who were trying to let us know as 15-year-olds what the film industry was going
And
to be
who
like.
was your guest speaker?
It was I don't remember his name, but he was a gentleman who worked in programming for HBO.
Okay.
Right?
Oh, this is so off the rails.
And usually there were guest lectures, but this is such a good story I have
Just
to share.
finish it. Finish the story.
He said, look, I know most people come here and they do a whole lecture first. I just want to show you something, and then we're going to talk about it afterwards. This is the pilot episode. It hasn't premiered yet. It's going to premiere in 3 months of Aaron Sorkin's new show, Studio 60 on the Sunset Strip. And a bunch of us turned to each other and went, oh, my God. Because this was like the most hyped pilot.
He was the West Wing guy.
And the pilot, the buzz was off the charts.
Sure.
Right? And we went, oh, my God, fucking holy shit.
Yeah.
Like, let's just start it. We're going, oh, my God, we're getting right there. We watch it. Everyone applauds at the end, right?
Yeah.
Because the pilot was pretty strong. Even
the
if you go back
pilot is
and watch
okay,
it,
although now if you go back and watch it, you can
see
all
the
problems.
signs.
Oh, yeah.
But it does still kind of work
It
as an
moves.
hour of
It
television,
basically
right?
moves.
And it's got some really good scenes, and the performances are really good. And he goes, okay, so now that you've seen that, here's the point of my lecture. My question is, what do you possibly program against Studio 60 at the Sunset Strip? And the thesis of his lecture was, any show that goes up against this is doomed.
It's like Kevin Durant joining the Warriors this year. It's like everyone's just like, you know what? Let's take the year off. Let's take that off.
He said no one is not going to want to watch this.
Yeah,
it has a ton of beloved stars. It's interesting subject matter. It's going to work for men and women equally. It's political.
Yeah, no, I get
it's
it.
artistic.
Yeah.
I mean, I just, it's insane to think back. He was like, this is a juggernaut.
Yeah.
I want you as a creative exercise to think, what do programming on HBO, what could I possibly put on a Monday night against this? And that was the entire lecture, was people suggesting things.
Okay. Is that the end of your story?
Different time back then. Yeah. It was an
It
anecdote.
was a different time. 2006.
Yeah. Anyway, Ben Hosley is here with us today.
Hey, man, let me tell you guys.
What's our running time right now, Benny?
45 minutes?
Well, about 10.
Okay,
good.
Boy.
Okay.
But, hey, guys, I'd buy a zoo.
Hey.
I'd buy a zoo.
Would you?
Yeah.
I would too. And I was trying to think of a more clever transition to even bridge it. But no, let's talk about this movie. The year was 2011. Okay?
Yeah.
Cameron Crowe has been off the map for years.
When does Elizabethtown come out? 05 or 06?
I believe 05. Am I wrong about that? Was it 06?
Yeah, no, 05.
05.
So in between Elizabethtown and We Bought a Zoo, he had made 2 music documentaries. One about Pearl Jam.
Yes,
and
Pearl Jam 20.
And then The Union.
Which is about Elton John and Leon Russell, I believe.
That sounds right.
Yes. We're debating whether or not to cover those because
we're not going to cover those. They had both. We're not.
In the name of not hemorrhaging listeners. I think that's the big thing. Yeah. Anyway.
But they both came out. Honestly, they both came out in 2011. So yeah, he'd been pretty quiet.
Yes.
I feel like he'd been writing liner notes for album reissues.
A lot of that,
kind of hanging out.
He started his own. I don't know if they did a bunch of releases, but I know he started his website, The Uncool, and they started posting a lot of stuff on there, and he started blogging a lot, writing things for other releases and stuff like that. He also, I know he released, because I bought it, a vinyl pressing of the Harold and Maude soundtrack, which had never been released in any form
Interesting.
before.
Cool.
Because most of that soundtrack is Cat Stevens songs that were on different albums. They never bothered to release a combined soundtrack.
Right.
And I have this beautiful, it was my Christmas present that year. This beautiful, clearly designed and created by a huge fan. Mm-hmm. And this is topical because
he's a good fan.
He's a good fan.
But go on.
But that's what he was sort of doing. Topical because he uses
oh Jesus!
Which fucking Cat Stevens song does he use in this movie?
I don't know.
And
there it is. That's the one.
You're there, you're there, you're there. Why can't I remember the name of that song?
I don't know or care.
I keep on thinking it's the Don't Think Twice, which is the Mike Birbiglia movie. Don't think twice.
Right,
Mike Birbiglia.
Can you please get to
nice.
your point? This is terrible. This is the worst thing that's ever happened.
That's what he was doing. He was releasing vinyl soundtracks and writing liner notes. And
well, the other thing we should note
is
that he was working on a film called Deep Tiki.
Deep Tiki.
And it was plagued with production problems or script problems or it never was getting off the ground.
But at one point was a month away from filming.
It was this thing that it
Ben
was
Stiller and Reese Witherspoon attached to star.
And it kept falling apart.
Yeah. Scott Rudin producing.
Right. And so he decided to pick up this, based on a true story movie.
Well, this is what I've heard, okay? Deep Tiki was a passion project. I think he took a while to lick his wounds because clearly...
Deep Tiki, of course, eventually becomes Aloha.
Yes.
Just for the listeners.
Yes. Yeah. You watch Elizabethtown, and clearly that is a movie by a man who feels very wounded by the critical rejection of
Elizabethtown.
Of Vanilla Sky.
Oh, sure. Right. Well, yes.
I think Elizabethtown is a guy feeling his first failure.
Feeling rejection from critics, but also obviously seemingly turning over the loss of his dad.
Yes, both.
Yes.
But also Vanilla Sky made a ton of money. And then you have Elizabethtown, which loses a ton of money and is hated. Right?
It's a bomb by any metric,
I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I know you don't like to psychoanalyze the filmmakers too much with things that aren't, concrete.
No, but go ahead.
I have a feeling that Cameron Crowe's a pretty sensitive guy.
Yeah, he seems a little sensitive.
Right? I say this as a fellow softie. Seems like a sensitive guy. I think those two movies back to back hit him pretty hard. I think he took a while to lick his wounds. I think he took a while to write Deep Tiki. And about, 2008, 2009 maybe, they're trying to get that off the ground. And for a while it's not going. And I think he was pretty wounded. And he felt like he was kind of a reject. He goes through a divorce around this time too.
Right.
So I think his life was in a bit of upheaval. And he's reevaluating everything. What I hear is that Tom Cruise, who of course has been a big champion throughout his career.
Buddy of Cameron's.
Right? And we didn't mention
two
this.
of his movies.
Produced Elizabeth.
No, we did mention it.
Oh, we did mention that? Okay. Kind of had like a... I don't know. Yeah, I don't want to say an intervention, but was like, dude, you need to make a movie again. Like, you need to get back on the horse.
You gotta get something out there. It's been too long.
And I have heard that apparently Cruise called...
Cameron? No, I can't do it.
Cruise called in a lot of favors and, like, went to studios and said, like, please hire Cameron Crowe.
All right. Is that true?
I've heard that. I think if you Google that, you can find that.
More mediocre filmmakers have less trouble making a movie than Cameron Crowe.
I think it was more that Cameron Crowe didn't want to put himself out there.
Well,
and so this thing that happened was Fox had this property. We Bought a Zoo.
Yes.
They had attached Aline Brosh McKenna.
Yeah, the writer of Devil Wears Prada.
Yes. To adapt it, and the script never totally worked, right? But I guess they had a lot of belief in this being a good starting point for a family dramedy, right?
Yeah, sure.
And I hear that,
And it's based on this true story, or would you believe it? Journalist buys a zoo. Boy, oh boy. Bought that zoo.
I think Cruise goes around and says to people like, hey, I'm trying to get Cameron Crowe to do something. And someone at Fox goes, this might be interesting to see if he had a take on rewriting this.
Yeah, and also it basically fits his sensibility in that it's a pretty gentle movie.
Yes.
Like, it's not, an action epic or
but
whatever.
What I've heard is that, he has credited Tom Cruise, thanking him for getting him back into making movies and for setting We Bought a Zoo up in a very unofficial early capacity.
We bought a zoo.
But also, it's
you could
important
say
to
that
mention,
he bought a zoo.
He bought a zoo. After Fox bought the rights to We Bought a Zoo. They should make a film about the making of We Bought a Zoo.
We Bought a Zoo?
Yes.
Yeah, that'd be great.
It's a film about creative executives. My point is that Cameron Crowe didn't go like, God, what am I going to adapt next? We Bought a Zoo. It was kind of thrown at him like, do you want to take a look at this and see if you have something? He ran through his typewriter and he went, okay, I think I'd make this. I think they even at first were just like, do you want to try rewriting this and see if you'd want to direct it? But it's the only one of his properties that he didn't really like develop from the ground up. Vanilla Sky was obviously adapted, but he was there from square one. Mm-hmm. This was him taking over a project, and it wasn't something he sought out.
Well, if I can elaborate on that also, he makes Vanilla Sky, is
Vanilla Sky. We've been messing up all episode.
He makes Vanilla Sky, and that's a Tom Cruise passion project as well as a Cameron Crowe passion project. But that has
it's a TCPP, yeah,
exactly. And then he makes
and a CCPP,
and then
it's a TCCCPP.
I'm gonna leave. I swear to God. No, and in Elizabethtown, he makes the most Cameron Crowe movie ever, right? It's just he's laying it all out there. It's this big, wounded, open heart of a movie with no real plot, and it's just fucking nonsense. So with We Bought a Zoo,
there's a plot. It's We Made a Shoe.
Oh, God. And then with We Bought a Zoo, he's literally, I would say, doing the other thing. No. One comedy point. No, you can give the comedy point.
I liked it. 2 comedy points.
Yeah! Okay, I'm sorry. Yes.
And then with We Bought a Zoo, he's doing the opposite thing where it's okay, forget it. I won't make a movie that's the inside of my brain scored to a soundtrack that I have been crying about for a week. I'll just make great, he bought a zoo. What a great story. I'll make the most formulaic little Hollywood, mid-budget picture you could ever imagine. It's not going to hurt anyone's feelings. No one's going to really care about it. Because I'm sure Elizabethtown has some sort of passionate core of fans. There must be.
I believe
people
Sophie Peralt, listener of our podcast, is a fan. There are other people.
Yeah, no, sure. Yeah. Whereas
Joe Robinson. Didn't Joe Robinson?
Joanna Robinson seems to like Elizabethtown, but she's a huge Cameron Crowe fan, I think. Right. But find me the Cameron Crowe fan who thinks We Bought a Zoo is his best movie.
Okay,
no one.
I agree with you.
Right?
No one's going to go to the mat.
He's playing it safe, is what I'm saying.
Yes, but here's a thing, and we're going to get into this movie. But here's a interesting prism I want to throw out from the get-go. A prism I think we should view We Bought a Zoo from.
Yeah,
I think this is the film that makes the strongest argument for Cameron Crowe being an auteur in the sort of strict auteurist theory kind of way. Because it is not a personal film for him.
Sure, but it still feels very Cameron Crowe-y.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's...
It's unmistakably a Cameron Crowe film without being something that he cooked up. Without...
I'll give you this.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's more like there's these moments where you're like, oh, like, there it is.
Yeah.
But then there's also like, ooh, here's our 50th reaction shot from an ostrich. Great. So just what we need.
Let's start getting into the meat of the film. But I just want to set that out as a thing, because I'm going to make some arguments towards that point.
I'm going to make...
For better or worse, I think this film shows...
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. Yeah. No, he's no... Whatever. Who's like a totally... Who directed David Frankel? He's no David Frankel.
Right.
Who directed The Devil Wears Prada.
It's fine. But like, yes.
No, yeah.
You could see...
He's a competent...
You could see a version of this film that was written by Eileen Brosh McKenna
Sure.
and directed by Dave Frankel.
Right.
And would be solid, sturdy, but lacking any real character.
Absolutely.
And this film has a lot of personality.
So that's right. Where I diverge with you is I think it has some personality, and then other times it feels a little more, blah, blah, blah.
I'm not always saying personality in a positive way. I think it has personality from beginning to end.
Well, we've staked out our positions. Okay. Now, I'm going to make fun of this movie. Because it is about buying a zoo, and it's ridiculous.
And it's called We Bought a Zoo.
It's called We Bought a Zoo, which is
easy
like...
to make fun of this movie.
It's kind of like that thing when, like, you're a kid and, like, the kid who gets picked on a lot wears some, like, obnoxious, nerdy T-shirt, and you're just like, why is he doing that? Or he starts, like, yelling at people about, I don't know, like, the nerdiest thing, like Dungeons and Dragons, and you're just like, I don't want to pick. I'm not picking on you, but like, and
don't
you
wear Donald Duck sneakers. Are you fucking kidding me?
Speaking as someone
don't
who was
your boogers, they're looking for reasons to punch you.
Exactly, someone who was a nerdy guy, ditto, but like was also someone who kind of tried to keep that shit as under wraps as possible.
That's where you and I differ.
Just to kind of like avoid rocking the boat too much. When there would be that guy who wouldn't, who would let it all hang out, and you admire it, but at the same time, like when they were getting picked on, sometimes you'd be like, did you have to be called We Bought a Zoo? And
I feel like at the time, because we didn't know each other.
As children?
No. I'm saying you and I had not met when We Bought a Zoo came out.
No, we had not. But I'm sure. Yeah.
Yes. Which means a lot of our mutual friends who I met through you and sort of the film writing, criticism community, I had not met yet either. But I feel like my friends who are fellow cinephiles, and, just film Twitter people I was following at the time, there was this sentiment of like, oh, come on, you're killing me here. Because people wanted to see, like, whether or not they liked him, the idea of Cameron Crowe being back. Because for a while it was like, is he ever going to make a movie again?
Right. And it was like he had made one flawed film and one out-and-out bomb. It wasn't like it was like...
impossible that he could
it was
get
like,
it back.
Maybe he'll just have another Jerry Maguire in his back pocket, whatever.
He might be a Stella.
Yeah.
He might get his groove back.
10 comedy points.
I was trying to be profound. I was looking for 10 profundity points.
What?
You don't know about profundity points?
All right, move on.
I just remember the sentiment being that, like, when you'd walk by a poster or the trailer would come up in a theater, you just, like, put your head in your hands and be like, come on, man, just fucking change the title. I'm trying to, like, fight for you.
What would you call it?
What would I call this one? Well, this is the problem. So I was watching it last night trying to come up with a better title.
Family Zoo.
Yeah. Hey, here's a game. Tweet at us.
Yeah, a better title than We Bought a Zoo.
Yeah. I'd love to hear some suggestions. I watched the whole movie and I couldn't fucking think of one
Dead
that was
Mom,
less dumb.
Live Animals. That's good. I would green like that.
I'd call it Warning, Live Humans. Don't feed the dad. Please do not feed the dad.
Oh, Dad likes Zookeeper. I don't know.
Yeah. A zoo home. I don't know. I don't know what to fucking call it. But just like, you could also just call it like Benjamin Mee's Great Adventure.
I guess so, yeah.
I don't know. Just don't call it We Bought a Zoo.
Collateralized debt obligations, because it's about, all the money he sinks in.
Here's a question. Like, what's the best movie title that also functions as a complete sentence like that?
Do
you know what I'm saying? Like, sentence titles are inherently kind of goofy.
Yeah, that's tough. I can't think of it.
There Will Be Blood.
It's pretty good.
That's you're right. That's probably the single best one.
That's pretty good.
But even something like Say Anything, where it's like you're starting to say something and the ellipses kind of like, do you know what I'm saying?
There's an ellipses in the title of Say Anything? ...
Wow.
All right, but I was going to say, as much as I want to make fun of the movie and will, for being about a guy who bought a zoo.
And being titled, We Bought a Zoo.
I think we've both been moving. We've been involved in apartment moving in New York City.
We both had moves in the last week of recording this episode. We both moved in the last 5 days.
Yeah, and which is, especially in New York, a real pain in the tuchus.
Yep. I'm still grieving over a breakup. I'm a real delicate
I'm
position.
grieving over your terrible tweets.
Yep.
Every night. And
you are welcome.
And I sit down to watch We Bought a Zoo, which I had never seen.
Yeah.
And, it's cute. I kind of liked it. They buy a zoo. Maybe I just needed someone to buy a zoo.
Here's the thing with this movie. It's charming.
It's kind of charming. It's okay.
I mean, I like it. There are a lot of things I don't like about it, but I'll say this. I watched it last night, and I cried. I tweeted this out. I believe I cried at 12 different points.
Yeah, well,
that speaks
silly.
a lot to my emotional, psychological state. I don't often cry at movies.
Mm-hmm.
I will often get choked up at movies.
Sure,
I rarely am moved to physical tears. I will admit that I was crying before I started watching the movie.
Yeah. I don't know if you're crying at the movie.
I was buttered, but now the 12 points in the film where I have historically, this is my second time watching the film, the 12 points in the film where I previously got a little lump in the throat now became full tears.
I'm an easy cry at a movie, and I cried 0 times during this movie.
Okay. Well, I just think this movie is charming.
Like, I cry when the car in Mad Max Fury Road kind of gets bumped into the dust cloud and, like, swirls around and explodes.
Because it's beautiful?
Yeah, because it's so amazing.
Yeah.
Like, I did not cry at We Bought a Zoo. Not when they were thinking of buying the zoo, not when they bought the zoo, and not when they opened the zoo.
I didn't cry at those moments. I'll tell you the moments I cried at when we get to them.
Okay.
What's the most embarrassing movie that you cried during? Like, can you think of a scene that makes you cry that you're just
I'll
I
have
can't believe
to
that
think about that.
Okay.
I don't have an answer off the top
I
of my
have
head.
one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Ben,
I was on a plane back from Aruba with a girlfriend.
Yeah.
And they were playing
humble
Hotel
brag.
for Dogs.
That sounds good so far.
Yeah, I love it.
And I
have an answer.
Cried so hard.
I've never seen Hotel for Dogs.
Because the dogs start running a hotel.
Well, I mean, so far I'm on board.
And
did people say they couldn't do it?
No one believed them.
Because that always makes me
dogs.
emotional. If a movie is like you can't succeed, the world is betting
so
against
Emma
you.
Roberts does not run the Hotel for Dogs?
She helps, but it's the dogs.
It's dog related. There was a film called Max that came out.
Film about the military dog?
Yeah, it came out I think last year about
summer.
a military German Shepherd who returns home from combat and has a tough time of it. I saw the trailer for Max in front of Jurassic World when I went to see Jurassic World, and there's a moment in the middle of the trailer when there are fireworks and the dog gets scared and the kid has to like hug the dog because he's scared, and I burst into tears. Like in the middle of the trailer, I went, "Oh!" and grabbed my chest and started crying, and my girlfriend laughed at me.
Can I complete this hat trick?
Yes.
Because I also, the first answer that came to my mind, I didn't have this when I asked the question,
Sure.
but now I realize the most embarrassing scene I can think about crying during is also a dog movie.
Yeah, I mean, dogs.
Well, but ready?
Okay.
And my memory's jogged because a friend of the podcast, Rebecca Bolness, and I were tweeting about this last night.
Yeah.
I cry during the first live-action Scooby-Doo film.
Wait, at what moment?
There is a moment in the film, and excuse me if I get emotional even talking about it.
Uh-huh.
But there is a moment in the film.
Yes.
Where whatever the cult is, the tribe that is staging voodoo rituals on the island.
I understand.
Where the theme park is happening.
We've all seen Scooby-Doo.
Run by Rowan Atkinson, who's actually Scrappy-Doo.
Forgot about that.
Yeah. And there's a scene where they're worshiping Scooby as a god.
Mm-hmm.
Scooby and Shaggy have gotten in a fight.
Classic.
Scooby thinks that Shaggy doesn't care about him anymore. And Scooby is on like a little sort of dais. And Shaggy goes undercover as one of the tribesmen. And he goes like, "Psh, Scoob." He's like, "What?" He's like, "We gotta get out of here." And Scoob's like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa." And Shaggy gives this monologue. Matthew Lillard, in the performance of a lifetime, gives this monologue about their friendship that I think is so touching.
Oh my God, this is embarrassing.
He just says like, because who's your best friend in the world?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, Shaggy? And he's like, and who's my best friend in the world? And Scooby looks at him, and Scooby's tearing up, little CGI tears in his eyes. And he points his little paw at himself, and he goes, Ruby Roo. And he goes, of course, we're two peas in a far-out pod, man, so we're going to do what we do best. We're going to run out of here screaming like a couple of cowards. Need a big, delicious sandwich or something like that. I'm paraphrasing the great James Gunn's fabulous script for that film. But boy, that one puts me through the ringer.
I think we're done.
Real waterworks. With our podcast and our friendship?
Yeah, it's all over. Oh, boy. Oh, good times.
In 2011, a film was released called We Bought a Zoo.
We Bought a Zoo.
Yeah.
It's based on a novel. A nonfiction book by Benjamin Mee.
Who was a British man.
Who bought a zoo.
But this film's a pretty loose adaptation of what actually happened in real life.
Yes. He acquired the Dartmoor Zoological Park, which is in Devon. It was like going to be closed because the safety concerns were really high, the old cages and stuff were really terrible, and its license was revoked and stuff. And it was bought by the Mee family for £1.1 million. Yeah. And they had some antics, but after a few years they restored it and it reopened in 2007, and now it's a success. And he wrote a book about it.
I don't think in real life he was looking for a new home and the real estate agent was like, okay, here's just a bunch of homes.
No. Well, let's get to that in a second. The other thing that is not in his real story is that his wife was not dead. That's a Cameron Crowe or Eileen Brosh McKenna. That's a movie invention.
Very interesting.
Now, we talked about in the Elizabethtown how Cameron Crowe's obviously trying to wrestle with loss in Elizabethtown.
Yeah.
And it seems like he's doing the same stuff here, right?
Yeah.
Because, the movie, it's about them buying a zoo.
Yes.
I'm not denying that it's about them buying a zoo.
I'm glad we're getting to this, because this is the big thing I want to talk about with this movie.
But certainly it's mostly, whoever made this, I can't say for sure that it was Cameron Crowe, because maybe Eileen Brosh McKenna came up with this idea first. But it seems like he was like, well, we need more than just a zoo purchase.
There's got to
be the emotional spine of this.
It sounds like in real life it was kind of a lark. Like, why not buy a zoo? That'd be fun. In this movie, it's like a man who needs to shake up his life.
Yeah, a man who's lost his wife.
Yes.
And
the son's kicked out of school.
He's got two kids, and the daughter seems very balanced, but the son's having some trouble.
The daughter's also real cute.
She's amazingly cute.
That's maybe the most adorable child actor I've ever seen in a film.
Adorable. Her name is Maggie Elizabeth Jones. She was also in that sitcom Ben and Kate with Dakota Johnson, which she was also very cute.
She was. She was also in Identity Thief.
I haven't seen that one. How is it?
Not good.
Great. What were we gonna say? Oh, and so he's a journalist, and there's this kind of really vague, really lame sort of plot where it's like, oh, journalism as an industry has collapsed, so you can't do that anymore.
We're brushing over something here, because the opening of the film is voiceover narration by the son.
Yes.
Which then is gone for the rest of the movie.
Played by Colin Ford, yes.
Yes, gone for the rest of the movie, but sets up the dad, who is this crazy kind of renegade journalist, and he'd go anywhere for a story.
He covered himself in killer bees, and he's talked to, warlords and drug dealers and all this crazy stuff.
Well, you're missing the part of this movie where I become 150% on board.
What is it?
They're showing as the example of all the crazy stuff he does. He's in the back of the truck with the warlord, and he's going, this and that, and death to the infidels, and this and that.
Right.
And it's
he asks the
this
warlord.
guy, he's such a crazy, off the fucking angle kind of reporter.
Yeah.
He's asking different questions than anyone else. He goes, okay, fascinating. What's your favorite movie?
Yeah.
And the guy says, Toy Story. And he goes, the first one or the second one? And he turns to all his his goons. And he's
looking for consensus.
First or second, they're like, segunda.
Yeah.
So this movie within the first minute establishes that Toy Story 2 is the best film ever made, which I agree with.
Cool.
Because as a warlord goes, so goes the nation. Great movie.
Toy Story 2? Toy Story 2?
Yes.
I agree.
And by proxy, We Bought a Zoo is also a great movie.
No.
Because it vouches for Toy Story 2. We Bought a 2.
Exactly.
Toy Story 2.
Yes. You laughing? You find that funny?
Kind
of. So he's having a crisis, right?
Okay. Son acting up, kicked out of school.
Daughter, she seems very precocious. Makes a lot of sandwiches. Maybe suspiciously cute. I agree with you. He can't even go into the local diner because that's where he met his wife.
Every place reminds
too many
him.
memories.
Yes. Yeah. And he's
kind of got to get out of town. What
well,
town
you're forgetting
is
the biggest problem of this not of this film, the biggest problem he has in his life at the start of this film. Too many women want to fuck him.
Yeah, women are like throwing lasagnas at him. It's kind of like that movie, The Intern.
Like he's fucking Garfield or something. Yeah. Ladies be throwing lasagnas at him.
Yeah, like it's like The Intern, the Robert De Niro.
Yeah.
You know, where it's like, it's like new hot widow on the block. Everyone want to climb that widow tree.
And as his daughter says, he's got most of his hair. Most of the other dads are bald.
She does say that.
Hot candidate.
So we should say that this character, Benjamin Mee, is played by Matt Damon.
Matthew Damon.
Is his full name actually Matthew?
I mean, what else would it be? Mythology? I mean, what
You're right. Matthew Page Damon.
I was going to guess P.
Well, there you go.
Okay.
And just to give us an idea, where was Matt Damon?
Matty D?
In that year, he had done the movie The Adjustment Bureau.
Which I like.
It's not a bad movie.
Cute movie.
Kind of odd.
Charming.
And Contagion, where he got a cold and didn't die.
And he rules in Contagion.
He's good. And Margaret had come out that year, but he'd shot it like 6 years earlier, so that doesn't really count.
My favorite film of the last 10
too.
years.
Well, my favorite film of the year, for sure. And, before then, he had done Invictus a couple years before, gotten an Oscar nomination.
Which is one of the weirdest Oscar nominations. Because he's like,
fine.
He's solid in that movie because he's a pro. But, that's not a great performance. He's just doing his job in that movie.
He was just kind of, I feel like Damon was in a bit of an odd place where the Bourne franchise was sort of dormant.
He had walked away in 2007 and said, I don't want to do any more Bournes.
He made this movie Green Zone with Paul Greengrass that was a huge financial disaster.
Huge flop.
And then he sort of starts rebuilding it by popping up in smaller roles in like True Grit and Contagion. And so, Matt Damon, good actor.
He does Hereafter, but he's doing a lot of supporting roles.
Hereafter was weird, but yeah. But Invictus is a supporting role.
And something like Adjustment Bureau, which did okay, it's like, in terms of box office, he's at best getting like on-base doubles or triples right now. He's not getting home runs.
Yeah.
His two big franchises, Bourne and Oceans, are dormant.
Right.
And he doesn't get another like real vehicle that clicks in a big commercial mainstream way for a number of years after this.
I mean, you're The Martian, basically.
Yeah. But at this point in time, definitely he's in a weird zone.
Which, by the way, was very funny.
The Martian?
Hilarious.
God, I mean, probably the best comedy of last year.
Outstanding.
Right? Oh, my God.
That will never stop being a good bit.
Yeah. So, Damon is your star. He's got big feathered hair.
Yeah, he's got a weird
odd
hairdo
hair.
in this movie.
Odd hair.
Yeah.
It's odd.
Yeah.
But I think that he's decent in the movie. I think he's really sweet.
Look, dude is solid, right? Matt Damon is one of our most dependable movie stars.
But that's almost the thing about him, is that he's almost like, defined by being dependable.
He's like the most meat and potatoes, like A-list actor.
That's what I love about him in The Departed, where he's suddenly like absolutely out of his mind funny and like really, really profane and weird.
Yeah.
And almost seems to be playing the character like he's this like violently repressed homosexual, which I adore about that movie. But like that was rare. Usually Damon's kind of your solid, your steady guy.
Another film I love him in, which also uses him as like a second or third lead, not like a supporting character, but not the driving force, is True Grit. Here's this interesting thing.
I love him in True Grit.
With Matt Damon, okay? So a lot of people like his buddy Ben Affleck. Not a great actor, pretty great movie star, right? If you work within the limitations...
I think Affleck's become quite a good actor.
I think he's become better. Yeah. But if you work within the limitations of what Affleck can do, he's a very powerful presence, right?
Agreed.
Someone like Johnny Depp was always kind of innately a character actor. And he became a movie star because, A, he was really good-looking and charming, but B, because a couple of those characters he played became kind of iconic.
Yeah.
But he's always more comfortable doing the fucking Jack Sparrow thing than he is doing, like, the Public Enemies thing. Right?
Yeah, although I think he's great in Public Enemies. But go on.
I agree.
But go on. Don't decide, Rick.
Matt Damon's an interesting guy where he works really well as a movie star, just being solid, down the middle, meat and potatoes, sturdy.
Mm-hmm.
He is like a moral center to your film. He's compelling. He's strong, right?
But you're saying, give him a supporting role, right?
Can really pop doing supporting character
Interstellar.
roles. Yeah, he's great in that.
Oh, he's amazing.
So, I think Matt Damon is one of our best movie stars, but he also is even better when you take the weight of carrying the movie off of his shoulders and
That's
go,
the thing.
Matt, get a little weird.
I think he's a B+ movie star, A character guy. What's your favorite Matt Damon movie star movie? Departed doesn't count.
I mean, I think I'll say I'm a born neophyte. I have only ever seen the second one, which made no sense to me because I hadn't seen the first one.
Yeah, that's That's a decision.
Right.
I would say the Third Born is easily the best Born.
Yeah, see, for me, my answer is probably The Martian, just because I think it's a great...
The Martian's a good answer.
It's a good unpacking of everything he can do well.
And so funny.
Yeah.
Anyway, so
everything. It shows all the colors on the palette.
We bought a zoo.
Yeah.
So he's sad.
Yeah.
And his brother is Thomas Hayden Church.
In a very odd performance.
This is the tail end of, I think, studios being like, toss some THC in there, you know? I feel like Thomas Hayden Church has vanished after his sort of bounce back.
He's going to be seen on the new HBO series Divorce, starring Sarah Jessica Parker. I think, like a lot of actors who have had a hard time placing themselves, he's looking to rebound in prestige drama.
Why not, right?
Series, yes. But he definitely had a very weird career after
the Sideways. Yeah,
and a movie that we disagree on, Spider-Man 3. I think he's really solid in. I think that character.
I think he's quite good in that.
Makes
film.
no sense, but he's really fucking good. And it's more impressive because the character makes no sense.
Yeah, no.
But there are a couple scenes he has that have like real fucking dramatic punch to them.
Wait, you think that movie's good?
I think that movie's interesting, and you hate that movie as much as any movie. You've said that to me in the past.
So awful,
right? You hate that movie as much.
Not that I don't think it's interesting, but I hate it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, certainly I agree it's not just your formula bad movie.
I think that movie doesn't work, and it is bad. I think 30% of it is like deeply interesting, and I will go to the mat for it.
Okay, whatever.
I think the scene...
Enough. We're moving past it.
Someday we're going to talk about Spider-Man 3, because we're going to do Sam Raimi, and I need to talk about that movie, because I have a lot of thoughts.
But hey, guys, who bought a zoo?
Matt Damon, playing the character Benjamin, me. Thomas Hayden Church plays his brother, who is, Thomas Hayden Church, we're saying, can be a great actor. Mm-hmm. And you look at something like Sideways, where he's playing a cad, and anyone else could have made it very one-dimensional, but he adds a lot of depth to it, and he got an Oscar nom for it.
Mm-hmm.
This role, he is playing just some funny line readings. This character does not hang together as a person at all. He's just a lot of kind of like, hey, look, I don't know what to say.
He's a real phoned-in, like, kooky older brother, type. I mean, there's nothing to
There's
it.
the one scene where they try to deepen him with him not getting over his ex-wife, but whatever. It doesn't really work.
It's stupid.
I will say, visually, I love the casting of the two of them as brothers. I think that works really well.
I agree.
Yeah.
They both have that sort of freckly Northeastern stock.
Yeah.
The movie is basically this. I think I said this to you on Twitter. The sitcom Raising Dad.
Yes.
I don't know. Which, by the way, have you ever seen Raising Dad?
No.
You know who was in Raising Dad,
the Bob Saget
right?
sitcom?
Yeah, the WB Bob Saget 2001 sitcom that lasted for one season. Bob Saget, Kat Dennings, Brie Larson, Jerry Adler. I mean, that's it.
That's pretty incredible.
Pretty good. One season, crappy sitcom.
Yeah.
But the same thing. I mean, it's two daughters instead of a daughter and a son. But, wife dies, dad's trying to figure it out. And then there's a kooky, in his case, grandpa, but, Thomas Hayden Church hanging around.
Isn't Full House also that his wife just died and he's trying to raise two daughters?
He's really into the wife just died. I mean, I think Raising Dad was a really obnoxious Full House quasi-reboot.
Right.
But just the
house was a little less full, but other than that.
It has like a 14-year-old Kat Dennings and like a 8-year-old Brie Larson in it.
Yeah.
And Brie Larson's like really funny. She's like the wacky little sister.
Yeah, she's a good actress.
Yeah, she's a good actress.
Brie Larson's really good.
It's so weird.
She was always good. It's like insane, even when you watch early stuff.
Totally.
Yeah. But I remember reading an interview with Matt Damon around the time that this film was coming out, and I think, this wilderness period we're talking about for Damon, where his seed cannot really find purchase, He's still...
I gave you a look for that one.
You did like it.
But, his movies do okay.
Star. They do okay.
Like Adjustment Bureau does okay.
But for a $20 million guy who's known as like one of these Hollywood elite guys, he's not really connecting in a big way.
Yeah.
And someone pointed out, interestingly, that at the point that they pulled the trigger on doing this new Jason Bourne movie...
Sure.
It was when he was still sort of in this run.
Yeah, it was pre-Martian, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Like now you're like, he doesn't need to go back to that franchise.
Sure.
But at the time, I think he was a little scared of like, I need to renew the brand.
Yeah.
You know?
Why not? And then I'll go make the Great Wall.
Yes. But I remember...
What do you think the check they wrote him for that one was?
I think he probably got $25 million.
Yeah, right? Like, it's like, hey, you want to be in this movie about 10th century China directed by and financed by Chinese people? I don't know. It sounds like a weird idea. Here's the check. Yep. I'll be on the Great Wall tomorrow. See you then.
Can I tell you a crazy theory that I might be proven totally wrong on that I have for this film?
I'm a respected Oscar winner who just got in trouble for lecturing a black lady about diversity in film. $25 million, though. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Can I tell you my crazy theory?
Go ahead.
I have a feeling that Matt Damon is not the lead of that movie.
Maybe. Maybe Andy Lau is, yeah.
What drives me crazy is that poster is literally his face is bigger than the wall.
Well, and also the poster is like...
Who can save us, Matt Damon?
No.
What do you keep out? What They built it to keep something out. Matt Damon.
I was going to say it.
Oh, say it verbatim.
It's something like 550 years old, 1,700 miles long. What was it built to keep out? Matt Damon, the Great Wall. Like, there's no, like, pause. Like, yes. It seems like Matt Damon is what it's trying to keep out.
But even, like, in our Vanilla Sky episode, we talked about, like, the Tom Cruise big head posters. That is the biggest I've ever seen anyone's head be on a poster.
It's a big head.
Yeah, and especially looming over one of the great wonders of the world. 47 Ronin has a similar thing where, like, the people who saw the movie said, like, oh, Keanu Reeves is, like, a supporting character.
Right.
Most of the cast is, like, actually Japanese.
Right.
And they, like, put him in a supporting character and then made him the fulcrum of the marketing campaign because they needed a known actor. I have a feeling that film's more of an ensemble piece.
Perhaps.
It doesn't make the fact that he is a savior character any less problematic. It doesn't make
it's fine.
The marketing
I was just making fun of him.
I know.
Whatever.
I just wanted to throw my theory out because if a year from now I'm correct, I'll look like a genius.
He bought a zoo. It's not even a year. It's February.
I remember him saying in an interview around that time, he really wanted to segue to directing motion pictures. Matt Damon? Yes.
He still hasn't done it.
I know.
I'd watch it.
He said he really wanted to do it, and he said, at this point in my career, I'm mostly picking films based on directors I want to work with because I want to see how other people do it.
Well, he works with good directors.
He works with Eastwood. He works with Eastwood twice. He does this Cameron Crowe movie.
He works with the Coens.
Yes.
He works with, who we got?
I mean, Neil Blomkamp seemed like a good horse to bet on at that moment.
Sure. I mean, Ridley Scott, Steven Soderbergh in Behind the Candelabra and in Contagion.
He almost did...
He works with Gus Van Sant.
Yes.
In Promised Land.
So he was going to direct Promised Land.
Right, because it's like
he wrote it, and that was his idea.
Movie,
and then there was another film that came up, and he didn't have time to prep it because he was going to be shooting that before. And Gus Van Sant stepped in. But when that film was announced, that was going to be his directorial debut.
Yeah.
Nolan. Yes.
He's in Manchester by the Sea this year, which is kind of Flanagan.
Yeah. He around that time was optioning a lot of scripts to direct, and now those talks have died down. But I think him choosing to do this movie was very much based in wanting to see how Cameron Crowe did it. He also was, at a certain point in time, talking pretty seriously about doing Avatar, and he said his main thing was he wanted to see James Cameron work, but it was just a long production. He didn't want to do it.
I think that it's interesting that he's better than Ben Affleck, I think, in a lot of people's minds. A little more of a safer bet, right?
Yes.
And yet Ben Affleck's the one who's transitioned very well to directing and has an Oscar for not for directing, but for making a movie. And like
Damon always seemed like the smarter.
Why hasn't Damon written more movies? Why hasn't he transitioned into this? Like, what's up with him? Why?
And I'm telling you, like turn of the decade, he was talking it up. He was going, I don't know how many more movies I want to make. I mostly want to direct, buying scripts, and then that all just sort of disappeared.
Yeah.
Promised Land, it was on the runway, and then he got off the plane and said, no, it's still my script and still starring in it. Gus, come in.
Yeah.
But I think that was the big draw for him to We Bought a Zoo. I don't think he would have starred in the Aline Brosh McKenna version of this film. I don't think he was interested in doing a family dramedy like this.
Okay.
Well, we're talking about his performance and his character.
We've done enough on Damon. We've done so much on Damon.
Yeah, this movie also has like no plot.
It has no plot. So all right. So I joked about this on Twitter.
Yeah.
Is that the film is called We Bought a Zoo.
Yeah.
And the first 20 minutes are like, oh, his wife is dead and his family, it's laying it out for him. And he's like, you know what we need to do? Get a new house.
Yeah.
And so J.B. Smoove, there's this extended, very Cameron Crowe-y sequence with him in the car with J.B. Smoove as the real, and he's just like, new day, this is great. And Matt Damon's like, how long have you been doing this for? He's like, my first day. This is my first day as a real estate agent. And then it's so superfluous, but it's like it's kind of a cute little
scene.
And
then the daughter, Rosie. Is Rosie the daughter?
Let me get the names. Yes, Rosie Me. And she's like, this one, Daddy. Like she picks out a property.
My mom is dead.
Yeah.
And Ben is like, you don't have to say that to everybody. And she's like, well, I want him to know because he would have liked her. And he says, I think it's very sweet. He's like, well, if she's anything like you, I can't imagine she'd be anything less than great.
Yeah.
But it does speak to this weird tonal disparity in the film where like, J.B. Smoove, who I love.
He's great.
I feel like is in the Dave Frankel version of this movie.
No, I mean, sure. I mean, I agree with you.
A lot of his moments...
I think he sells those lines. Though.
I don't think he doesn't sell them, but I think the lines around that, he's playing pretty broad.
Right. Yeah,
and I think J.B. Smoove can be subtle.
No, he's a pretty broad actor. I mean, you don't really bring him in.
Right.
Like, oh, I need a quiet, really sort of like internal performance.
And
let me get J.B. Smoove.
Same for John Michael Higgins, who's playing to the rafters in this.
I really I can't stand that because I love John Michael Higgins. We'll get to him.
One of the best.
He's one of the best.
Comedic character actors, but he's in a totally different film.
Well, no, but there is no lazier casting decision than like, we need a persnickety inspector type.
Oh, wait, are you guys talking about the bad zoo boy?
Yeah, the bad zoo boy, as the girls call him. The bad zoo boy.
Oh, my God.
Oh, look out. Here comes the bad zoo boy.
Yeah, I mean, it's like really lazy shorthand casting. He feels like he's just going through the motions.
Really does.
And the J.B. Smoove casting for me feels like they were like, oh, we need to pep the movie up.
Let's get this movie going. Yeah.
J.B. Smoove can't not be funny. Which, like, he's inherently
I basically
funny.
agree. You know what? I think it's fine. But here's the thing that I'm complaining about.
Yeah.
She's like, this one, Daddy. And he's like, okay. And we're watching the movie and we're like, it's a zoo. It's a zoo.
We know.
It's a zoo. The movie's called We Bought a Zoo.
I had to go up to the ticket counter and I go, one for We Bought a Zoo. I had to verbally say We Bought a Zoo in order to see this movie. I know motherfucker's gonna buy a zoo.
And the movie's like, J.B. Smooth's like, well, there's a thing about that property cut. Like we're not. He's like,
he goes, what is it? He goes, well,
real pretty, but there's one thing you should know, cut. And
they're looking
we're
around.
Like, it's a zoo. And he sees the house. He's like, this is great. I love this house. He's like, no, real nice house, but cut.
But yeah, because here's and then
finally it's like, the girl's like with a peacock and he's like looking at a lion and he's like, see, the thing about this place is it's a zoo. And we're like, we know it's a zoo.
David,
what if they went to a bunch of different zoos and they had to pick which zoo they wanted to live in?
We could talk about just this one scene for 45 minutes. But I think you're wrong, David. He doesn't say it's a zoo. He goes, it's a zoo. Like he's stammering so much and he's drawing it out. And then when he says it really quickly.
It's a zoo.
And the camera, like, it goes in, like, this wacky, like, it almost feels like a fisheye lens. Like, he's really close to the camera, and he leans in when he says it.
Yeah.
It's a zoo. Also, it feels like, and I feel bad for him, it feels like they picked glasses that don't fit his head properly in this movie.
His glasses are very funny looking.
They're like,
improperly
centered. Yeah.
It's odd.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So
it's a zoo.
But also, I mean, because I need to talk about this.
No, you don't.
In what reality do you just throw a zoo onto the end of a list of houses you're looking at and not immediately go, so the last house we're looking at, I gotta let you know, it's not just a house, it's a business. It comes with a business attached to it that you will have to run and operate, and it's not just, here's a store where you sell sundries, it's a fucking zoo.
Yeah. And there's a restaurant operated by Elle Fanning.
Well, it's, you're gonna tell them it's a fucking zoo.
Well, it's the other thing. It's like, when you're looking at a real estate layout, a blueprint or whatever, it might say like, well, the funny thing about this is the bathroom is actually like, there's one room that has the sink and one room that has the toilet. No, it wouldn't be like that. It would be like zoo for sale.
Yes.
There's a home you can live in.
Right.
But it's not like house for sale plus zoo.
Yeah. No one ever sells a business by first selling you the place where you could live if you ran the business and then going, by the way, you would also have to operate.
Right.
And own a business.
And
get all the necessary licenses.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, if I went into a real estate place and I said, show me the money. 3-bedroom, show me the money and 3-bedroom homes you've got.
Yeah.
I would expect to be shown a bunch of 3-bedroom homes. And if I was shown a zoo, I'd say like, this is a zoo. It should be in a different folder. And like if I went into the real estate and like, do you have any zoos?
Yeah.
I'm looking for a zoo.
Yeah.
They might be like, we have a zoo. They'd have like the smallest folder you ever saw.
You go online to streeteasy.com and you go, ideally I'm looking for a 2-bedroom, rent stabilized.
And no zoos. I've already got 2. I don't really need a third
the zoo. You got to check that.
I swear to God.
This is a nice apartment. It's a studio. By the way, it also comes with a hospital. So there's a whole staff waiting here. They've been lying dormant.
Right.
I won't tell you what happened to the last owner.
All right, well, that's
but here's
the
whole staff on board. All the patients are in there.
Your joke that's exactly the question. So then you cut to like a scene with him and Thomas Hayden Church in a restaurant, and he's like, it's crazy. It basically runs itself and makes 75% of its money during the summer, and it's really a piece of cake. Like he acts like it's almost like just a delightful little addition.
Because
it's like
Rosie
having a kitchen nook.
Fell in love when she saw the house.
She likes the peacocks.
When they're pulling it, but even before that, they're pulling it to the driveway, and he goes, "Rosie, take a picture."
Right.
She says, "Why?" And he goes, "Because this is where we're gonna live."
Right.
Like he just falls in love with the driveway.
And
Tom St. Church is like, you want to have a midlife breakdown, buy a boat.
You watch Knocked Up. And you're like, well, maybe she should get an abortion. She can't get an abortion. The movie's about her being pregnant. Like, that was always Judd Apatow's. Like, you watch We Bought a Zoo, and you're like, I don't think this guy is emotionally or financially equipped to buy a zoo. But it's also like, you're like, well, he kind of has to buy the zoo because it's called We Bought a Zoo. So I understand that the movie can't spend too much time being like, showing him weighing whether or not to buy the zoo. Like, he's gonna buy the zoo.
But it does
but
feel
he signs on quick.
It does feel like a weird storytelling decision when, by all accounts, it sounds like in real life, Thomas Mead decided to buy a zoo.
Yeah, right.
And in this movie, he falls in love with a house and is like, I guess if I gotta buy a zoo along with it, I'll buy the zoo.
Yeah.
Like, he bought a fan that came with, like, a free pen.
Yep.
When they bundle a fan and a pen together.
I was no idea what you're talking about.
Sometimes you buy a product that comes with another product.
I understand, yeah. Another product. He buys the zoo. Where does he get the money for the zoo? Oh, we're not sure. He sells his old house.
Thomas Hayden Church does say the parents left inheritance.
Yeah,
he goes, this is how you're going to spend Dad's inheritance?
So he sinks some money into the zoo.
Yeah.
He goes to the zoo.
Yeah.
The zoo's full of animals.
His son hates the zoo. And his
son is not into the zoo, and he's just like, ha, you love this zoo, don't you? And the kid's like, nope. And he's like, I knew you did. Anyway, let's move into the zoo now.
But son's miserable. He gets kicked out of high school. He's clearly not dealing well with the death of his mother.
Gets kicked out of high school for drawing disturbing art and stealing.
Decapitations, and he's stealing. And they go, this is the 4th strike. We're on a 3-strike policy.
Yeah.
So the film kind of sets up that it's like, he's got no other choice. Matt Damon clearly needs to get away.
Right.
Every shop and restaurant in this town makes him sad because of his dead wife.
Yep.
Rosie's going to be happy making sandwiches wherever, and she loves the peacocks. Son needs a new school to go to. They need to start fresh. Why not Occam's razor? Easiest answer is usually the correct one. Buy a zoo.
Right.
There's no other option. You gotta buy a zoo.
Gotta buy that zoo.
Yeah, so they buy the zoo.
So they do buy a zoo.
Acquire the full staff and all the wacky animals.
The zoo, like I said, has somehow been sort of sustaining itself. I guess
not
it's
open to the public.
I guess it might be part of the thing he says where it's like, it's not the summer yet, so it's still like kind of coasting off of previous year's receipts. I don't know.
Do they ever explain what happened to the previous owner?
No.
Right.
It's full of animals. Unlike the real zoo, they don't really talk about how it like is dilapidated or anything.
Yeah.
Like they're already, so Scarlett Johansson, we should mention, is in this movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, what's important to say is you said that the zoo is full of animals, and that's just the employees.
Boy, oh boy. But no, Scarlett Johansson plays Kelly, the lead zookeeper, and she's walking around is what I'm in, and is like, this zoo's incredible. It's like revolutionary design.
I'm 28
years old. Look at this incredible zoo. It was designed by this wacky bearded guy played by Angus McFadden. Yeah. And but she's basically like, it's already great. It's already up to code,
Yeah, it's the best.
And you're like, okay, well, where do we go from here?
But he's not meeting her until after he's bought the place.
Yes.
Like, it feels like maybe that scene should have been when he was on the fence about buying the zoo, and he meets her, and she's like, look, all I'm saying is, you take over, the zoo's the best. We're ready to run this.
Right.
You just sign the checks.
Right.
But he meets her after the lease is signed.
He does.
The deed.
He hasn't, and they're basically like, so what's your deal? And he's like, I bought a zoo.
Yeah.
And they're like, do you know anything about zoos?
We heard that someone bought a zoo. You bought a zoo. Okay.
Yeah, but they're literally like, what do you know about zoos? And he's like, they have animals. Like, I mean, there's nothing.
He calls them cages, and she's like, they've been in enclosures for a long time now.
Is she mad about this?
Some of the other employees. Patrick Fugit, our old buddy from Almost Famous.
Yeah, he's back. He plays a craftsman.
With a capuchin monkey on his shoulder.
Called Robin.
Played by Crystal, the most famous monkey in Hollywood.
Sure. She's the one from, like, the thingy-majig.
Hangover 3 and Animal Practice, was that what it was called?
Yeah. Right.
That was the big deal. Well, she got paid like $80,000 an episode for Animal Practice. She's Hollywood's top monkey.
You've got Carla Gallo as Rhonda, who's like the bookkeeper.
Also playing it real big.
She's playing it real big. That is accurate.
And let me point out, the actors in this film playing it big, like J.B. Smoove and John Michael Higgins and Carla Gallo, I think are all great. And I like all three.
You mean you think they're great in other things?
In general.
Sure, I agree.
I like all three of them a lot in general. And I could see them I could see a world in which they're in the David Frankel version of the movie and you go, they're a highlight.
Yep.
But they're just, the three of them and a couple others are in an entirely different movie.
I agree with you. Now, then there's Elle Fanning, who plays Lily, who's like a homeschooled cousin of Scarlett Johansson's character.
Yes.
And she works at the restaurant, but she also helps out under the table. Like, they pay her cash.
Yeah, and she's homeschooled by Scarlett Johansson? Did they ever make that clear?
And she makes, like, neon signs
Where
in
are
her
her
basket.
parents? Yeah.
Not explained at all. Now,
Hello, new neighbors.
I saw you saying on Twitter that you liked this performance. I think Elle Fanning is a wonderful actress. The performance didn't particularly totally work for me, but you seem to really like it.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about this for 4.5 hours now.
No, you're not. You're going to talk about it for 1 minute.
Elle Fanning, I think, is
actress.
Is one of our greatest living actors. I will say that. It might sound hyperbolic.
I think she's a very promising actress who's given, like, now several great performances, right?
I have never seen her give a performance that I didn't think was exceptional.
Yeah, well, I would say I did, and it was in the film We Bought a Zoo.
I think she's incredible.
She's only okay.
I don't think this is an incredible character. I think this movie speaks to her abilities.
She's great.
I think
she had been in Somewhere the year before, and then she was in Super 8 this 2011, which she's
fucking amazing in. Yeah.
And after that, she's in. I mean, she's been kind of all over the place recently.
I mean, the movie I cite to everyone, the one movie. I mean, she's not bad in it, but I guess Maleficent's not like an exceptional performance. But I think most of her performances, I think, are really.
I didn't see Trumbo. How
she's
is she?
Fine in Trumbo. I mean, she's better than it's written. You know. I mean, she's certainly never given a bad performance. I love her.
Good actress.
I think she's enormously talented. But and Neon Demon, she's really great in.
I have not seen.
She's very good in it, playing a very different type of role. But the film I always cite, where I just like totally freaked out, a really shitty movie that I hate called Phoebe in Wonderland.
Haven't seen. I do know about this film.
It's a terrible film from the director of Beastly. And it's about, I took it because Elle Fanning, I took my sister to see it because Elle Fanning was one of the little kids in Daddy Daycare, which is very funny, and it was my sister's favorite movie for a long time. And I took her to go see Phoebe in Wonderland, and she plays like an 8-year-old with OCD, and it's one of the best portrayals of like mental illness I've ever seen from an 8-year-old.
She's good in Benjamin Button.
She's
good as a
really
little
good
kid,
in Benjamin Button. And it was very clear watching that, like, this isn't a coach performance. Like, there's some innate ability here that's off the charts. I think she's very natural. And I think in this movie, it's so easy to see. I think Matt Damon's son in the film is, like, totally fine. He just feels like a movie teenager, right?
Right.
He's kind of grumpy, and he's angsty, and he's playing the basic notes.
He's fine.
On paper, the character isn't that well written. And I think the kid is playing.
That is true.
He's going through the motions. I think Elle Fanning, late in the film, they summarize her character by Scarlett Johansson goes, like, you're such a goofball. And she is this girl who's homeschooled, who lives on a zoo with her cousin and has sort of no social acumen, especially not with any kids her own age.
She's very sincere.
Achingly sincere.
She's a real country girl, as Scarlett Johansson's character kind of puts it.
Yeah.
And, she's sweet.
I think it'd be very easy for an actress to come in and play this role and just go like, okay, so she's a girl who she's awkward.
Sure.
And you just make it awkward and
bites her lip a lot.
Yeah, in sort of like an in quotes kind of obvious way. And I think she, as just one of these people who's very effortless and very engaging on screen, plays it as like someone who doesn't know that it's not cool to be really excited about everything.
You know, that's a good argument.
And I think it's one of the least cynical performances I've ever seen in a movie. I'm not saying that as like it's one of the best performances I've seen in a movie, but it's a certain quality that I don't think I've ever seen done that well, especially from a teenager who's going to innately be very self-conscious as a person, let alone as an actor.
Right.
She is so achingly open in the film. And the scenes that emotionally work the best for me are the ones with her, because it's like this dynamic of watching this boy who's incapable of expressing himself in this very broad stroke, sort of by-the-numbers way, and this girl who cannot hide how she feels at all times.
Right.
I find very emotionally affecting. I think it's a great performance from one of our finest living actors, Elle Fanning.
Okay. Well, there you go.
There you go.
Yeah, she's pretty good. The romance with the guy doesn't work with the boy doesn't work for me at all.
The scene,
I just don't like that kid.
I don't
think
either.
He's a little asshole.
I don't either. But the scene where she tells him that she heard, I hear your dad's thinking of selling the zoo, and he hasn't heard it before, and he gets so excited.
Right.
And she's trying not to cry.
Yeah. Yeah, she's good
because
in that
he's not thinking about her at all.
Yeah.
And he clearly has a crush on her, and he can't say it.
Right.
I don't like the boy. I think that character's
He's
really
not
badly
great.
handled.
Yeah, he was in Under the Dome. Didn't like him in that either. Yeah. Don't like him. Don't like him. They buy the zoo.
They absorb this crazy family, including Cameron Crowe's mother. That's one thing about watching all the Cameron Crowe movies.
There she is, right.
There she is, wearing her little sunflower hat.
Right. It's basically silent, but she's hanging out.
I don't think they ever cite who she is or what she does at the zoo, but she definitely works there.
But there's this moment at the end where he kind of gathers the staff and he's giving his sort of speech, and they're all looking at him, and she's just standing there, in between Peter, Patrick Fugit and ScarJo, whatever.
Can I throw another thing out about billing in this movie?
You know what? Why don't you just
go
ahead and do it?
We both are fascinated by billing.
Love billing.
This movie has so many single card billings in the opening credits.
Okay.
Because in most movies, you'll get the 8 main actors get their own
and
individual
then you start
card.
to double up on the kids or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
But this film is 12 to 15 people get single card billing, including Peter Riegert.
Yeah,
who plays the boss at the
Scene.
newspaper.
He's in one scene. He's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good actor.
The billing is 15 people get their own spotlighted, and by the time they double up, it's getting to Cameron Crowe's mom or the Home Depot employee,
right.
you know?
Right.
Anyway, they buy the zoo. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. The son is angry.
And
the daughter is delighted.
He doesn't know what he's doing. The son's angry. Daughter's delighted. He seems that he's in the grip of a nervous breakdown.
Hayden Church is just throwing fucking sarcastic Bon
he
Moses
pops
at him.
in and makes fun of him.
Yeah.
And there's all these animals, and we meet them all.
He lovingly photographs.
There's a bear.
Yeah.
There's a tiger.
Yeah.
2 tigers.
Yeah.
There's a lion.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of other fucking animals.
Peacocks.
Snakes. He definitely photographs them lovingly. This film is shot by Rodrigo Prieto, who's a great cinematographer.
The movie looks great. It's got a nice kind of sun-drenched Instagram filter kind of
little island in the sun kind of.
But it's a nice-looking movie.
It's a nice-looking movie.
Oh, there's a porcupine.
Yeah, that gets some needles in Damon's hand.
I don't like it.
Yeah. And it's cute. It's cute. There's the film is then cute antics. Yeah. And it I'll admit, I kind of drifted off. I didn't fall asleep, but I was just sort of okay, well, so now what's going to happen is there's going to be some animal stuff, and then there's going to be a problem, and they're going to have to fix it.
If you're not a small child or a devoted animal lover who loves watching
Was
nature
this movie rated PG?
It must have been.
It's so harmless.
It's
there's
one
no
of the
swearing, there's no sex.
This is maybe the most basic movie ever made.
Yeah.
Right? And it's a real dad movie.
It was a PG rated for some thematic elements.
Yeah.
Including, listed under violence, characters discuss the theft of a cash box. A man throws darts at pictures of someone he dislikes.
Porcupine needles in hand.
And so on.
There are a couple different tracks this movie's working on simultaneously. One is just here are the animals, here's the zoo, here's all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's the part I find least interesting.
Right.
But I'm sure that was the commercial hook that the movie was based around, was some people love animals, we'll make a movie for animal lovers,
and
kids will love it.
It was in that Marley and Me slot, that Christmas slot. It came out Christmas 2011. And I think, they were just
Fox
here's a
was
movie.
The same studio that had released that, which was a Dave Frankel film.
Yes.
It was placed into that mode.
And it's here's a movie that the whole family may not want to see, but they can at least agree on it because it won't offend any member of the family, right?
You hope that you can cruise to some insane opening multiple because in the Christmas corridor between Christmas and New Year's, every day is a huge movie-going day.
Between Christmas and February, practically, this movie is just going to be hanging around.
But that idea that every day is going to be a $10 million day because you have families of 12 and they all want to see something together, and We Bought a Zoo might be the least objectionable thing. That everyone can go, fine. I'm fine with seeing that. And they see it, and they go, that was okay. And then they eat at Five Guys, whatever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
They go to Dave & Buster's.
Boston Market.
Yeah.
Ruby
California Tuesday. Pizza Kitchen.
Yes. Chili's, 2-Go's.
Cheesecake Factory. All right, so...
that was... Okay, so the animal stuff is the thing I find the least interesting.
It's not interesting.
Right.
And so it's basically Matt Damon's so what's up with this one? And Scarlett Johansson's well, the problem with this animal is, this problem.
And then he kind of learns how to deal with it. It's trials and tribulations, but they're all pretty low stakes. The bear escaping is probably the biggest one.
The bear escapes, and Matt Damon kind of chases down the bear, and so then they're all oh, you're brave, Matt Damon.
He holds his own against the bear.
And then they have to get a tiger off of a rock because the tiger is sick and old, so they yell at it. And Damon's sad because he doesn't like to kill. He doesn't like dying.
They keep on going. You're going to have to accept at some point we're going to have to put the tiger down.
And he's no, goddammit, my wife is dead.
Well, okay, so I was going to say, I didn't know if you picked up on that. because that mirrors the fact that his wife died and he hasn't come to terms with that yet.
No, I didn't pick up on it until in that scene when they're all yelling at the tiger to get it to move. They all stop yelling and he's still yelling and he's like, I put my life on the line for this. I'm not over this yet. Like he's, that was what nudged it over the edge.
And he's also yelling at his son a little in that way because he goes, I just want what's best for you. Why don't you understand that?
Yeah.
He bought a zoo. So...
Oh, God. You followed the We Bought a Zoo with 2 zeros Twitter account, right?
Yes.
That was Bobby Finger, wasn't it?
Was it?
I think so. I think that was our friend Bobby Finger.
The great Bobby Finger.
I'm sorry if I'm misattributing Bobby.
I think you're right now.
That was wonderful. You guys should check it out. It's
still
very
up there,
funny.
I
I scrolled through it today.
Yeah. So there's that track of the movie, which I don't really care about, right? There's the element of it being sort of this like midlife crisis financial movie.
Yeah, but I don't like that either because
I like it a little more than the animal stuff. I'm going to rank the 3 elements. It's easy, but I like it a little more.
You're sinking money into it, and then there comes the moment where it's like, you're out of money. You have more money, though. Do you want to put the more money
He looks in an
from
envelope.
the wife?
He suddenly mysteriously finds $85,000 and is like, oh, I guess I'll do it.
Do you going to put the more money from your wife into the zoo?
No.
And he's like,
yeah.
That's a bad idea. I shouldn't do it. I'm going to do it. And like that's the extent of the decision.
Also, motherfucker bought a zoo at that point. Like, why not double down? Right, you already bought the zoo. Whatever. I'm less interested in the financial elements of it than I am.
There's that moment where like Rhonda, the Carla Gallo character, freaks out and tells everyone like he's going to sell the zoo, and they're like, "Are you going to sell the zoo?" And he's like, "No, I'm not going to sell the zoo."
Yeah, and he's
and
like,
then it's over.
Rhonda, enjoy moving to Mexico.
Yeah,
and she's
fuck
like,
you,
I don't
Rhonda.
speak Spanish. Yeah. He tells Rhonda to go fuck herself. And I can't believe that slipped by the MPAA. They gave it a PG. There's that scene where he just tells off Rhonda. So there's that element. I don't find that.
And then they feed her to the animals.
Go ahead. And they're all just ritualistically, while they feed her piece by piece, very slow. The film goes into real time for 45 minutes. You watch the animals peel her flesh off like fucking string cheese, and they just go, fuck you, fuck you.
Guys, that actually doesn't happen in the film.
Yeah, no, it happens after the credits.
Correct.
And then Nick Fury recruits
Suicide
them.
Squad. No, go ahead. We bought a zoo.
Yeah, we bought a zoo. We didn't. Let's make it clear. The characters in this film did.
Yep.
Neither David nor I have ever bought a zoo.
True.
I cannot speak for Ben.
I once worked at a zoo for 1 week.
Did you really?
Yes. When I was 8 years old, I worked at
good zooing age.
Well, it was very
if
good.
Rosie Me is anything to go by.
I worked at the Central Park Zoo in like some sort of a kids. It was like a summer kid program. It was like kind of like a day camp.
Who are you playing? The tiger, the lion? Which
I was assigned to the red panda exhibit. Very fun. Red pandas are very cool.
Ben?
Never bought a zoo.
Okay.
Good to know.
I was a little worried. To be fair, Ben feels like
Ben's done
someone
a lot
who
of
might
crazy
have bought
stuff.
a zoo.
If you
Ben's
have bought a zoo, please tweet at us #IBoughtAZoo at Blank Check Pod. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I don't find the financial element that interesting. I do like the idea of, because the movie sets this up, but like Thomas Hayden Church is like, you're doing this because you're going through a crisis, you're middle-aged, your wife died, you just quit your job, like don't commit to this. And I kind of like the movie that's like him just going like, is this the dumbest fucking decision? Like too late to get out of it, I don't like the financial shit. I like the sort of internal struggle of him trying to figure out whether or not he's an idiot for having gotten into this thing. I think that works okay. Then there's the main track of this movie that I think is pretty successful, which is a movie about grief.
Mm-hmm. I think it's pretty successful. I think it's more successful than Elizabeth.
100%.
So I'll give it that.
This movie feels almost to me like, and this is where I'd love to find out someday, somehow, if he added the dead wife element or if that was an Aline Brosh McKenna thing.
I would love to know.
But
it would require me watching more about We Bought a Zoo.
Yeah,
which
I don't really
want
to do the research.
Right.
But it does feel to me like that whole plot of the film, which is what the movie starts on and ends on, and ends up being sort of the larger thematic theme of the movie, feels like a corrective to Elizabethtown.
Yeah.
And it feels like a much smarter portrayal of grief because Elizabethtown is a guy who we're supposed to buy is suicidal and is inconsolable.
Yeah.
But also just seems totally happy-go-lucky the entire time.
Right.
And this movie is about a guy who wants everyone to think that he's doing okay and isn't really addressing what's going on. So you don't get sad sack Matt Damon. He's pretty fucking like functional the entire film.
He's pretty chipper. It's just like almost too chipper. Like in the same way that the girl is almost too cute.
But I'd say his chipperness is like part of it's baked into the cake of this film. That's what he needs to overcome, you know?
And it's an okay cake. It tastes okay.
The grease stuff really works for me. I will say that.
So you like the frosting, and the rest of it's okay.
And then,
but the other thing is you're a real sad, miserable bastard.
I'm a sad, miserable bastard, and the sentimental bone in my body, I think, is a pretty direct carbon copy of one of the sentimental bones in Cameron Crowe's body. Mm-hmm. I think I try to avoid super treacly kind of manipulative bullshit, but Cameron Crowe's sentimentality, even when it's overcooked, just goes down for me. It's a wavelength I am on.
That's the whole thing with him. Yeah. You're either into that or you aren't.
Yeah.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah. I just think I like the way this movie deals with grief. I like that's not overwrought. I think anytime the movie tries to too directly marry the zoo stuff to the grief stuff, like him yelling at the tiger, it kind of falls apart.
Yes.
So this movie for me is I go back scene by scene going what the fuck is this? And then being like, this scene's really getting to me. This scene's
pretty good, yeah.
This scene's pretty well observed.
Yeah. So...
Cat Stevens. Don't Be Shy. That's what the song's called.
Don't Be Shy.
Don't Think Twice.
Don't Think Twice is a great movie, by the way. Have you seen it?
No. By the time this episode's released, I'm sure I'll see it.
It's really good. Starring former guest, friend of the show, Chris Cathard.
Yeah, and starring a future guest and future friend of the show, Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah, and future friend of the show, Gillian Jacobs.
Yeah, we're going to get all of them on.
Yep. So, what if we somehow made that our mission to get the cast of Don't Think Twice?
Conor Ratliff's also in that film, right?
He is.
Yeah, he's been on the show.
He has.
Hey, I was an intern for Berbiglia in college.
I've had one terrible interaction with Berbiglia, which I will not share on this podcast because it will take too much time.
Yeah, please don't.
I behaved poorly and made a real fool of myself.
Sounds great.
I had 2 interactions. One was really nice, and the second one I burned my bridge. Anyway.
So the film has the nominal climactic sort of sequence in which they need to get the zoo up to code so it can pass the inspection. We'll spend no time on this.
John Michael Higgins has a tape measure that's electronic, and it's like a wee-wee. It's like a wee-wee that's getting a boner.
Ben's excited for some reason.
What is his name, Griffin?
What's his name?
Bad Zoo Boy.
Oh, Bad Zoo Boy. I'm sorry.
He's a bad zoo inspector.
Ben, I am so sorry.
My most profound apology.
Thank you, guys, okay? You could tell that he's a badass and he plays by his own rules.
Yeah, and he hates the Scottish guy and they fight him, whatever. That's going on. So there's a scene where they go to the Home Depot and he uses the credit card.
It's a cute scene.
And she's like,
I love that too.
And the credit card's chipped and he's like, I'm sorry, I've been maxing it out. And she's like, no, you work for that zoo. I love that zoo. Is that coming back? And you see the other people online and it's this idea that people have just been waiting a year for the zoo to open. But they never really talk about there's that moment.
There's no.
And then later in the film, she's like, we've been flyering 7-7. We're opening 7-7. And then it just rains for a month.
No, you're getting it wrong. Okay. So here's, this is how they deal with the promotion of the zoo. You're correct about this. He discovers that his son's a great artist, or he remembers this.
Yeah.
And he takes a picture of the son that the son did of a tiger that they had to put down.
I watched this last night and I already entirely forgot
They put it on the poster, and that's what gets the son into the zoo, Yeah. And then they flyer. You don't see the flyering, but that's, And then it rains before the zoo's going to open, the day before. And the weather report's it's going to rain forever, which is not really a weather report.
No, it says, I wrote it down, this is going to be the wettest summer in 100 years.
Ay. And then he wakes up the morning of, and it's not raining. Phew.
Great.
But then no one shows up to the zoo. Oh no. But then they go and check. A tree fell on the road. Oh no.
They'd step over the tree.
Who's behind the tree?
Everybody! It's it's a line for the new fucking iPhone dropping. And people park their cars. They're out in the street.
Zoo. It's so fucking dumb. And
he goes, come on in. And they all have to climb over the tree like it's an adventure because life's an adventure, David.
And then it's and Sigur Rós, who did the music, Jonesy or whatever his name is.
A couple original songs did the score.
You got a Sigur Rós song building on the soundtrack. And you've got...
and this is only 2 years after Slumdog, 3 years? Which used that song as their big climatic thing. Yeah. This movie uses the song 3 times in a row. They start it fades out, and then 30 seconds later they'll start the song over again from the beginning.
And I think we're supposed to assume that it was a mix of sentimentality and that great fucking tiger picture. It's so fucking good that somehow got record numbers to go to
that
this
Home
zoo.
Depot woman. You have to imagine for the last month,
she's just
every
been telling
customer.
everybody,
She's just been
that
going,
zoo's coming back.
7-7.
That zoo you like's going to come back in style.
As long as the bad zoo boy doesn't shut him down.
Uh-oh, watch out.
And he almost does. He's about to.
Yeah.
He's hovering over
There's
the
a great
no.
shot where you see
he's like
the
moving
pen.
his pen.
Yeah.
Between like don't open zoo and open zoo.
And then
the daughter's
Rosie
like,
Lee-
Mister, everyone says you're a dick, but I don't think you are. Whatever it means.
CC really towing that
And
PG
he's
line.
like, I don't think it's gonna work.
Everyone cries.
For you to open the zoo. It's like the most annoying shit in the world. You'd think Cameron Crowe would, but I guess he's just like, let's lean into this. This
He's
is
just
a
trying
big
to Cameron Crowe's-
applause line movie.
Cameron Crowe's trying to get back on base. You know, he hasn't even been up to bat in a while, and his last time was a strikeout. He wants to get on base. So it feels like there are some concessions in this movie, but within it is a corrective of maybe this is a better way to make a movie about grief. You know? Marrying with some things that might work in a more conventional way.
It's it's the more conventional way.
Yeah. And look, America bought a ticket. This film did pretty well.
It did. Well, we'll get to that.
Yeah, okay.
But they bought his. So two other things happen.
Yeah.
One, he kisses Scarlett Johansson out of nowhere
We
in
have barely
the shed.
talked about her character because it's my
She
least
doesn't have
favorite
much of
part
a
of the
character.
movie.
I mean, she's sort of no nonsense.
She's a zoo nerd. She's a zoo nerd lady.
Yeah, she likes zoos.
She's 28.
Yeah,
When she shot this film, she was 26. This
sounds right. Maybe
character,
27.
I remember Amy Adams being in talks, or at least in contention for this role, and then I think she turned down to do the Muppets instead. This film would make a lot more sense with Amy Adams. You could see the Elle Fanning character being a daughter rather than a cousin, you know, or a niece. And also, in a film, there's a part early in the movie where Thomas Hayden Church is like, why don't you ask out that one woman who gave you the lasagna? She was a looker. And he goes, I don't even know what a looker is. Is that what it is these days?
Yeah, and he's like, because I had the real thing.
That's the thing. He said, it's tough for me to even know because I had the real thing. And it's like, his wife in this movie is, by all accounts, was the greatest person who ever lived, right? Everyone who met her was so thoroughly charmed by her. She was drop dead gorgeous. For him to then, after so much resistance to all these housewives and single mothers at the kids' school at the beginning of the movie who were all just throwing their lasagna and their genitals at him, to then fall in love with a 28-year-old who, okay, I understand, extreme circumstances, she's beautiful, she looks like Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
You're working together in an enclave where you barely see anybody else.
Right.
You know?
But he doesn't fall in love with her.
No, but it's like
they
such
have crushes on each other.
Yeah, and it's just like, you should know better than that. Like, you're resisting going on dates with anybody.
Yeah,
She's 28. This is not going to be a good
okay.
lasting thing. You're harming the business.
All right.
She's your head zookeeper.
All right, well, look, one, I kind of agree with you. You almost wish it just, like, they have that one scene earlier where she's like, they both like, we're not going to act
he
on
says,
it.
Like,
He's like, I'm not
think
going
you're a very beautiful woman.
But I'm not going to be. I'm
I
totally
would be
in my
offended
head.
if you did. She goes, and it's a good Cameron Crowe line. She says, also, if I want to kiss you,
right,
you wouldn't have a choice.
Yeah,
it would, whatever it was. Yeah.
And then it just, maybe it was a network note, or maybe Cameron Crowe just likes kissing. But, you know, it's just like, well, you know what? Let's have him make out a little and say, like, hey, maybe we'll keep doing this. You know, it's all very cash.
It's very cash. I would like this movie 10% more if it didn't happen. I would, commend this movie for not forcing them into any sort of romantic relationship and just making it a movie about a man and a woman who work together and respect each other. And even if it was just the scene where he's like, you're attractive, but we're never going to act upon it, would be nice because you're acknowledging that they're both beautiful movie stars, charismatic, and they would obviously want to fuck each other.
Right.
But I like that they hold it back and they just make it, make out next Tuesday, you want to make out some more? But, like, you don't fucking need to do it. It makes me uncomfortable because she's so young. She's playing older than she is, and the age she's playing is still too young for him, especially someone who is such a fucking dad in this movie and is at such a different point in his life.
Right.
And it makes me worried about the future of the business because that breakup's going to be tough, or even if there's just a point where it's like, maybe let's not make out so much. I mean, what's going to fucking happen then? You know? She's fine in this movie. The next year, Avengers comes out, and her career suddenly starts making sense again, and she rebounds really hard.
That's the thing. She was in such an odd spot, and she's just about to pull out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, but that's the one thing.
Yes.
But then the other thing is that he finally gets the courage, after the zoo's a huge success, to go into the restaurant. that he met his wifey at. It's the final scene in the movie. It's the best scene.
It is the best scene. I told you because you watched this movie in like two halves.
Yeah, I watched the first hour of it, took a little break.
And you were like, you're right, it's pretty charming. And I was like, get ready for the fucking ending because Cameron Crowe sticks the landing.
The 20 seconds of insane courage.
Which he says to the son when he can tell.
Says it earlier, right.
Because he's like, I know you fucking like Elle Fanning, and now she thinks you're an asshole and you're not doing anything to fix it. And he says, a thing I've said to many people drunkenly when I'm trying to encourage them to say stuff, I quote, "We bought a zoo."
Right.
And I'm like, I'm telling you, all you need is 20 seconds of incredible courage, and I promise you amazing things can happen. Blind, stupid courage, or whatever he says. I think it's a pretty good Cameron Crowe line. And he shows he brings the kids into the restaurant. And you're like, what's going on? Where's this film going? Because they open the zoo. It's a big success. Everything's great. Everyone's happy, right?
Yes.
And I got a little choked up just because, I mean, they did it. You know,
they did it.
These crazy fuckers.
Kind of like
bought a zoo.
We were talking about, you know, the movies where it's like you can't do it. They did it.
He's like
they said it couldn't be done.
Hotel. They said it couldn't be done.
They said those dogs couldn't run that hotel.
This crazy.
They said maybe a motel. No.
Yeah.
They wanted a hotel.
A Holiday Inn. No. I watched this movie, and as much as I don't care about the zoo subplot or main plot rather, the zoo elements of this film, that crazy bastard did it. He
fucking pulled it
it
off.
He fucking bought a zoo and he ran a zoo and he opened a zoo.
Now he's gonna finally confront the ghost of his wife, literally.
I love this.
Played by what's her name?
Stephanie Shozak. Shozak. I think it's pronounced Shozak. Something like that.
I have the pronunciation. Shostak. Stephanie Shostak, who
from
is
Dinner for Schmucks and Iron Man 3.
A French actress. She's in Iron Man 3. She was in the show Satisfaction, which I believe aired on USA for a couple
I like
years.
her a lot as an actress. I feel like she's has not
gorgeous.
been given enough to do in any American film, but I think she's good. I think she's good.
It's such a cheesy scene. It's so incredibly cheesy. It does work.
This is what he does.
I would say it. If I wanted to criticize it, I would say it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb a little bit at the end of the movie.
The whole movie didn't feel like it was building up to that because half the movie's about a zoo.
Yeah, it's mostly about a zoo,
you know.
And then he's like, "Okay, kids," and so, but Damon does a good job.
He goes, "I'm going to show you how I met your mom," and he brings them in,
like,
and he
she's
goes,
sitting right there,
and
I'm wait a second, and he like runs out, and he's like, I'm walking down the street.
But the kids look over and they see the mom.
Well, that's after he comes back in.
Yeah, and he goes 20 seconds on the clock.
Right.
And
then the kids see the mom. The movie like stops for a second, and then they go, "Hi, mom,"
which is beautiful. But it's like he's made the moment so vivid to them that they can see her there.
Right.
And he goes, "Okay, so I have 15 seconds on the clock still, and I'm wondering, what do I even say?"
And so I say, "Excuse me." And then I think that's when there's the long pause and the kids see the mother, right? Yeah.
Yes. And then I say, "Hi, Mom," and you're wondering what he's going to say.
Oh, my God. Do you have the line exactly? I don't have it exactly.
It's something like,
"We bought a zoo?"
Cut to credits. A film by Cameron Crowe.
Excuse me. We bought a zoo. Do.
He says something along the lines of, "Why would an incredible, fascinating, beautiful woman like you ever
talk to an idiot like me?"
Right.
And she says,
and the last line of the film is her
not?
spirit comes alive. And she says, "Why not?" And the kids and they all sit there and they stop ignoring what happened and they accept that they love their mother.
The end.
Beautiful.
Good end.
I'm sobbing.
It works for me.
Yeah.
It does. I think it's easy to make fun of, but it works for me.
I think so too. But look, dude, I mean, all of Cameron Crowe's easy to make fun of. It's easy to make fun of the boombox over the head. And I'm not saying this is as good.
It is.
But like when he's at his best, it's this heart on your sleeve, like, yeah, on its face, this is ridiculous. And it's so fucking, like,
I'm with you.
You know, openly, aggressively, violently emotional. But he speaks to some kind of truth. And there's some moments like that. There's a moment I like where he's on the laptop looking through the pictures of the wife. And you're looking through the still photos. And I'll say, big pet peeve of mine is movies with badly doctored photos of actors.
Yeah, but those are great. Oh,
but they're really well done in this.
There's one that looks a little off, but they're basically great.
Yeah, and it's like...
I mean, I think it's mostly her pictures or his pictures, and like, you know...
But there's a couple of them together, clearly both as 25-year-olds.
No, they're good.
And it's like really well done, and he's going through the photos, and then one of them sort of comes to life. And not in like a crazy, like fucking
she just turns
ghost
to look
way,
at him.
but it's a still photo, and she opens her eyes, and she turns to look at him. And it's just like... You know, he cries sitting alone on the floor, and he doesn't overdo it. You know? I just think it's a pretty good movie about just, like, grieving takes time.
It's a pretty good movie about grieving takes time. It's an okay movie about buying a zoo.
Yeah.
And it exists in the world, and you can see it anytime if you want to.
It's a low-key charmer. I recommend
it's
if you have nothing else
PG.
to do.
I really don't think that any child would like it, except for the animal stuff.
Kids who love animals would like it.
They'd like the animal stuff.
Yeah.
What about the expanded universe?
You mean the expanded Zooniverse?
Yes.
You're talking spin-off films?
Yeah, well, like, what about a prequel, They Sold the Zoo?
Be a good sequel. They were forced into
prequel sequel.
You talk about spin-offs. I mean,
death by the zoo.
We bought a ticket for the zoo. You could make a separate film about everyone who has ever gone to the zoo as a customer.
Let's play the box office game.
Okay.
This film came out in December, Christmas time, 4-day weekend, December 23rd, 2011.
Wow. Okay.
It opened
Christmas weekend. Yeah.
at number 6.
Yeah, it didn't open well, but it multiplied well.
With 15 million over the long weekend. It multiplied to 75 mil, just decent.
Pretty solid.
Domestic.
I think the movie only cost 40 or 50.
Made 50, cost 50 to make. It made 120 worldwide. Not a big hit by any means.
I think it probably did well in home video. But that's a solid on-base double, you know?
Fine.
Yeah.
I would say it's a single.
I'd say it's a double.
No. But do you want to guess what the top 5 films of that weekend in Christmas were?
2011. Okay, so I gotta place my. I'm trying to think what the big Christmas blockbuster was in 2011. So 2011 is I'm thinking of other family movies. Hugo came out that year, but had come out a month earlier. That came out Thanksgiving.
Yeah, Hugo is down at number 12.
Muppets came out in Thanksgiving.
Muppets is down at number 11.
Did Disney have a big Christmas release?
Not really.
No.
They have a film that they have War Horse, which opened at number 7.
Okay.
And the Muppets is technically Disney.
Right. And Tintin is still in the top 10?
Opens number 5. It
number
opens
5
that
on
week.
Okay.
With $23 million.
One of my picks for one of the most underrated films of the decade.
One day we're gonna do an episode about it. I think.
love Tintin. Yeah, we're gonna do a miniseries.
You got number
just on
5.
Tintin. Okay, number 5.
All right, number 4 is
let's
we'll
go
do up
ascending. Yeah,
number 4 is a film that also had come out that week that was expected to be really big, but was
disappointment.
We did fine. It opened to 27. I think it cleared about 100 total.
Live action or animated?
Live action, R-rated, very dark.
It's a very dark film.
Adaptation.
27. Oh, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.
That's right.
Yes.
Which I also think is an underrated movie.
And it's a film that squeaked to 100. People thought it was going to be
they thought it was going to be a franchise starter, but I think people were getting a little sick of The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. If it had come out a couple years earlier and there wasn't already a fucking Swedish movie about,
and as much as they got a lot of juice out of the joke of whoa, it's the feel bad movie at Christmas time. I think that was a bad time to release that movie.
Terrible time.
Yeah.
No, they were really.
It's the opposite of We Bought a Zoo. No family's going to want to see that together. And this is the time of the year where your personal movie-going choices are probably thrown out the door to appease.
I think they're going for the other family approach, which is let's all go to the multiplex.
Right.
You guys will go see the film that's number 3.
Yeah.
In the box office, which you're going to have to guess in a second, and. Mom and daughter go see We Bought a Zoo, and I'm going to go see Girl with a Dragon Tattoo.
So you know what I think their actual approach was? Well, no, I think that was their intended goal.
Yeah,
I think what actually happened at the box office for them was...
And I didn't mean to be so gendered about it. I know. But,
I know.
This is how the studios think.
I think what actually happened was the only people who went to see the movie were people who don't talk to their families. Who are just I'm going to go see what I want to see.
I went to see it with a bunch of friends who all liked the book.
I did too. I saw it with John Goldman, but you and I see 5 movies a week. No, I'm saying I think that's why the film underperformed to some degree.
Number 3. It's a film that you probably could be able to fucking talk about.
Oh boy, with such disdain, you say. Is it a children's picture?
Yes, it is. Second weekend, and it has now made $56 million at the box office. It eventually makes 133 and 340 million total worldwide.
Interesting. Is animated or live action?
It is a mix of the two.
Well, see, I think you're assuming. I was going to guess this was in the 10 at number 3, actually, preemptively. You're assuming I've seen this one. I have not.
Oh, you haven't seen this one?
I believe it is Alvin the Chipmunk's Chipwrecked.
That's correct.
I have only seen 1 and 4 because I hated the first film, and I only came back on board because my boy Walt Becker had taken the reins.
Yeah.
I had a feeling this...
Who directed Chipwrecked? Who was that?
Oh, I can tell you exactly who it is. Do you have it there?
I do.
Mike Mitchell?
Yeah. Yes, that's correct.
I can tell you all 4 directors.
High, yeah.
Yes, which is one of my favorite movies. Yeah. First film was directed by Tim Hill, I believe, who directed Muppets from Space.
Uh-huh.
Second film was directed by Betty Thomas, who was a cast member on Hill Street Blues.
That's Road Chip.
And then went on to direct Dr. Dolittle and I Spy.
Oh, okay, sure. Yeah.
A bunch of Eddie Murphy comedies.
Right.
And then, of course, the OG Walt Becker, the original garbage filmmaker. Yeah. Anyway, okay, that's number 3 at the box office. Number 2.
Number 2 is a sequel. I have never seen it. I did see the first film. It's in its second week of release.
Sherlock Holmes: Game of Shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never seen it.
So this is how
Some people like it.
Yeah, I've only seen the last 10 minutes on TV and thought it was better than I thought it would be because I don't like the first movie.
I barely remember the first one. I mean, I remember when the first one came out, and we were all just like, Robert Downey Jr. Yeah. We love him. We love him. You know, we're going to see it.
Yeah.
And then we saw it, and we were like, hey, good score.
I'll say the score is great for that movie.
Great score.
That is the only movie where I just openly checked my emails in the middle of the film. Yeah. I turned my phone off at the beginning of every movie.
Well, it was the early days of smartphones, you know.
No, but even then, I was like, I'm so uninterested. I would rather see because I'm waiting on a couple big emails. Jared Harris plays Moriarty in the second film, and he's a great actor. So I remember watching the last 10 minutes and being like, oh, this already seems more engaging because he's doing some interesting work. The original Alvin and the original Sherlock were also released in the same weekend, which is why I was trying to guess those two part and parcel.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they both made lots of money, as did the 2 sequels. Number 1 is maybe my favorite action film of the decade, and probably one of my favorite action films of all time.
Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol.
Yes. One of the best American films of the 2010s.
I prefer Rogue Nation.
I love Rogue Nation, but nothing beats Ghost Pro.
For me, it's all about Rogue Nation.
Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol is one of the only movies in my life that I have actively, gasped during. Out loud.
Yeah, I mean, yes. And you saw on IMAX, right? Yeah, that sequence is unbelievable. I think
it's the best. It's like a ballet film. It's the greatest thing I've ever seen.
I think Rogue Nation hangs together better as a movie, even though Ghost Protocol has better set pieces. You know what? Mission Impossible.
They're both great.
That franchise could work as a miniseries.
It's 100% a blank check. Every single one is a blank check. You've got
Cruise
the first
is the
one
ones writing the checks, but
the first one where Cruise is writing his own check.
Yeah.
And cashing it with a crazy director.
Yeah.
The second one, which is the fucking worst.
Yeah. Which I saw 3 times in theaters at the time. Loved.
Is a director at his peak, certainly being the most like him, the
and
most
it was supposed
John
to be
Woo.
his big coming out here. He's getting the full.
It was a huge hit.
Yeah, humongous.
And then the third one, in retrospect, is great, but at the time it was people were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Big financial disappointment. Why are they getting a TV guy?
Big financial. It had been in production for years, and Carnahan was supposed to make it. And
he dropped out 3 weeks before filming started, and they threw out the script. J.J. Abrams, that guy does TV. Why would you let him take over a franchise?
Right. And then Ghost Prot, and then Rogue Nation.
Brad Bird and Christopher McQuarrie.
Oh my God.
I'd love to do a miniseries. Maybe when 6 comes out, we'll do a retrospective.
Yeah.
MI.
Yeah.
Mission Impossible.
Love Mission Impossible.
Podcast and Mishcast
okay.
Potable.
So Warhorse is up there. New Year's Eve is still in there. Descendants.
New Year's Eve. Raise your glass.
The Descendants is hanging out. At the bottom, you were tweeting about Matthew Lillard yesterday and how good he is in it. He is very good.
He's better in Scooby-Doo, but yeah.
He's also excellent in the FX TV show The Bridge.
Oh, really?
Really good.
I know he was on
that. Was his post.
Yeah, but I want him in big screen. I want him in pictures.
That's you.
David's making a constipated face, which is a pretty good impression because I'm usually holding in a shit.
This film is ranked number 5 in the family animal brackets live action section on Box Office Mojo, behind 8 Below, Snow Dogs,
Dr. Dolittle,
Free Willy, and March of the Penguins.
Oh,
not sure why Dr. Dolittle isn't on this list.
Can I sidebar for a second? I just moved, had to go through all my belongings. I went through a box. This was a box that I had moved from my childhood bedroom to my old apartment, and now was going through for the new apartment to try to throw out stuff and lose weight in the move. I apparently, for some fucking reason, owned a complete collection of Free Willy 2 trading cards. I don't remember seeing that movie.
Free Willy 2: The Rescue? Is that what it's called?
Yes, I think, or the Journey Home.
I think you're right. I think Free Willy 3 might be the rescue.
I swear to God, I don't think...
The Adventure Home.
I don't think I've seen Free Willy 2. I owned every single trading card. I saw the first one movie in theaters. I thought it was okay.
I saw the first one in theaters. Loved it.
David, why did I own every one? They were the numerated, the cards told the story of the film, and I had literally every one.
Anyway. They bought the zoo. That's the real takeaway.
Those
here.
fuckers did it.
Can we do a quick merch spotlight?
Oh yeah.
Did you buy a zoo?
Yeah.
Zoo for sale?
Fuck yeah! That was my joke.
Oh shit! I'm sorry.
That's okay.
We owe you one.
Merchandise spotlight. Zoos.
You can buy a zoo.
Ben, I'm gonna make you a deal.
What's up?
David owes you 10 comedy points.
Oh,
so
okay.
at some point in the future, if you make a joke that doesn't land because
Sure.
David just stole your joke, you can ask David to gift you 10 comedy points.
Fantastic.
A joke that you feel deserved better.
Can I get
Fair
little
enough.
bits and pieces? Do I have to get it just in one shot?
Ooh, I like that. You can divide your points however you like.
Good call. Right. So if you want a couple,
Yeah.
Thanks.
So we're done with We Bought a Zoo?
Yeah, we bought it.
We bought it. Next week we're going to do Aloha.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. It's so funny. It's like Crow gets away from maybe being a little too crowy, makes a pretty formula movie.
Back on base. He just got his sea legs back.
It does fine. And he's like, great. Now I can make my movie about the militarization of space. Here we go. Like he swerves right back out of the skid.
Remember that movie that people didn't want me to make for almost a decade?
That movie that kept falling apart almost as if it's cursed.
Right.
Huh.
Right.
Anyway, I think Emma Stone would be a great Asian
Despite
lady.
having some of those popular stars in Hollywood, people don't want to make it. Well, let me get now the most popular stars in Hollywood and try to make it again.
Anyway, Aloha. That's going to be fascinating.
Yeah.
We bought the zoo, and that's great.
That's great.
How you guys doing?
I'm doing well. I have a segment, closing segment I want to throw out here. This is a new segment. It's going to be a recurring segment for, the rest of at least this mini-series.
Yes.
It's called Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-bum. Tips for watching the Tick pilot on Amazon.
Go ahead.
In the
sure.
window between August 19th and September 19th.
Oh, it's only a month?
Yes. Well, that's why I'm going to start the segment.
And then they pull it off?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to start the segment to answer some commonly asked questions and give you tips for how your view can make the biggest impact for me.
Right.
Okay? Amazon's pilot season is that they put these pilots up online and they gauge, they lick their finger, they hold it up to the wind, and they take the temperature, and they go, do people want more of these? If people want more of this, then I have a job.
Right. So you want that to be picked up.
Very badly.
Understood.
Yes. And not just any job, my dream job. And a project I love, a character that is near and dear to me, I grew up loving, I am now very personally attached to, want to continue doing. So people have asked a lot, how do I watch it? Where do I watch it? When do I watch it? What is it voting? All of this. So I just want to, just pump into the public consciousness, week by week, remind them that the thing's happening, because there is this 30-day window. So it goes online August 19th. On September 19th, it will be pulled, because what Amazon likes to do is, if they pick the show up, when they film the season, they retool the pilot a little so the thing is a little more cohesive season-wide. So you have a 30-day window to watch it. Do you need to have Amazon Prime to watch it? No. Anyone can go onto the homepage and watch the show. But David, this is very, very important.
Yes.
This has been imparted to me by my boss, Ben Edlund, who apparently heard this from higher-ups at Amazon. If you start watching the show, and then you go, fuck, dinner plans, and you pause it, and you go out, and then later you come back home and you watch the whole thing, well, Amazon's computer system is going to look at that like, you gave up on the show.
Okay.
You were kind of bored.
So be ready. Devote a half hour.
Yes, and this is big. We're not talking one of these fucking Netflix.
Not these 65-minute. Yeah. This ain't no Get Down.
Get the fuck out of here. Amazon's going wham, bam, thank you, ma'am or sir.
Yes.
This is a 30-minute pilot.
Right.
A straight shot of Tick. But you gotta carve out a window.
That was great.
That's my
Griffin.
tip for this week. When you watch the pilot, make sure you have 30 minutes and you can watch it to the end, to the last credits.
We got it.
Great. And this segment will be coming back every week, and people are going to love it. When they hear this segment, they're going to go, hoo, 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 hoo. Oh, this is so funny. This is the funniest part of this podcast.
Yes.
Great.
Cool.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. That's the end of that segment. Thank you all for listening.
Mm-hmm.
Please rate, review.
Wait, you don't have a burger report?
No, I do. I don't have one. I went to Comic-Con. I desperately looked.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't find any whatsoever.
Sure.
I saw Anna Gasteyer in an airport. I once saw Anna Gasteyer eat a burger, but this was before the podcast. I didn't think it was worth telling. I don't have a burger report.
I'm out, man.
Yeah, we basically got the last one out of you, the one where you had to bleep the name.
Yeah, that was a good one.
That was a great one.
Look, I'm constantly scouring, and now that here's an incentive to people. Tick gets picked up, I get a season, I become some big time famo.
Maybe you'll get some more burger reports.
I might get invited into those famo burger joints. Get to watch. So that's if you're a blankie, and you like yourself some burger reports, you gotta watch the Tick. But you gotta watch it from beginning to end. David is nodding his head so hard that he literally shook his headphones straight off.
How long have we been running, Benny?
An hour 40.
Well, this is the end of this episode.
We bought the zoo, and we were happy to buy you guys some of our time today. I don't know. I didn't know what to do.
Couldn't have put it better myself.
I didn't know what to do.
Rate, review,
we're done.
Subscribe,
Yep.
Listen, recommend to friends.
Yes, please.
We'll be back next week for Aloha.
Yep.
I believe
Podloha with Esther Zuckerman of the AV Club.
Yes.
My great friend Esther Zuckerman.
Written for many great outlets. Has written
for the Atlantic
Refinery
Wire.
29.
Entertainment Weekly.
Ever heard of them?
Yep.
You fucking idiot.
Yep.
Read a magazine.
Exactly.
Or a blog.
Exactly.
You fucking piece of shit. Podloha next week with Esther Zuckerman, the great Esther Zuckerman.
And as always,
well, I just remembered the one important thing we forgot to set up. Ben,
what's up?
Ben, do you want to share with the listeners your favorite part of the movie?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it.
We do have to do this before we end the episode.
Let's do it.
Not to get this close to the finish line.
Just shut up and let him do it.
Okay, Scarlett Johansson, very cute. Cute. I like her.
Great.
She said my name throughout the movie.
Great. Okay. Rate, review, subscribe. And as always, I'm slightly worried that I'm going to be put on a sex offenders registry watch list for talking about Elle Fanning that much.
Yep, makes sense.
Little bit worried.
All right.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
This has been a UCB Comedy production. Check out our other shows on the UCB Comedy Podcast Network.